We got Ed Barnes back tonight because he got cut off Monday night with us. So it's going to be a continuance. I think Brett Vaughn might jump on. He's out and about camp. Well, he's out and about doing some stuff, and he'll be camping on the side of the road somewhere or out in the middle of the hills. So as soon as he gets service, I send him a link. Maybe he'll jump on. But right now, we're going to continue our saga with Ed Barnes. Ed.
Good to be back.
Deja vu.
We got cut short the other day. It was just getting good, and then boom.
It was.
Technical stuff.
Well, I did it to me the week before we was on, and I think it was with Chris Powell. And it did. Same thing. And then you try to log on, it just says waiting for host. If it's good, it'll say ringing. And then, yeah, it happens.
I mean, that's the hardest. I've been kind of messing around with podcasts for a couple of years, and that is the hardest part of it is the technical side of it not all of us are all that technical savvy anyway, but even if you are, it's a nightmare.
I'm learning.
It's like running a gauntlet. I mean, even if you know it all, just, one person's, internet connection goes down a little bit and boom, they're gone. And it's just a headache.
Well, and with the live, there's no play in it. You know what I mean? So when you're doing a podcast and you're sitting around, you can edit, you can jump back on, you can fix it. When you're on a live.
When you're on a live, it's live. Yeah. I mean, we've done that. I've done that before with recorded podcasts where we lose somebody and, we might wait for an hour and a half and then get them back. And then we just cut that part out. And listener never even knows it, but when you're doing it live, it's a different deal.
Oh, exactly. No, I just edited a video. Or I just edited a live, the one I had with Cleve Dwyer, and I have a bad habit of clearing my throat a lot. I try not to. I had a radio show back in the day, and I could go 2 hours and not clear my throat, My grandfather did it. I don't know. I got a big uvula, whatever it is. Always, I don't know. It drives me crazy. So I'll go through and cut all those out that I can't.
Yeah, as long as people remember to cover the mic when they clear their throat. It usually ain't too bad.
I was with Naomi Yates the other day, and I hit my mute button. Well, I didn't hit it, and my dogs wouldn't shut up. I yelled. I said, "Shut up!" And she laughed. I'm like, "Oh, damn! I don't think it muted because I'll hit my mute, clear my throat sometimes."
Yeah, I usually don't feed my dogs till after dark, but like when we're gonna do this, I can go ahead and feed them. I fed them about 30 minutes ago, so hopefully they'll.
Exactly what I did, because if I don't, they'll start like, hey.
Well, that's what mine do. About the time the sun starts to go down, they start hollering at me like, hey, dude, we need food.
My mules, too. My mules will be back there. I'm like, oh, my God. So one time with Noemi, I waited. I'm like, I'll wait. It's kind of warm. But tonight I just fed them. So now they're all full-bellied, and I had
when my kids were younger, he's dead now, but I used to have this big dog. He was half Airedale.
That didn't sound right because you said when my kids are younger, he's dead now.
No, the kids are all doing good.
Kind of threw me for a loop a second, then I realized he's probably talking about a dog.
Yeah, the dogs are gone. I had this big. He was half Airedale and half Plot. We called him Pluto. He was big.
Yeah.
But he had this bark. Like if you didn't feed him, he was a real easygoing dog, real quiet. But if you didn't feed him, and every once in a while I'll skip a night. I think it's good for him.
Oh, yeah.
But if I skip a night, he would sit out there for about half the night and he would just do this. The only time he did it, but it was 3 barks. He'd go, ho, ho, ho. And wait about a minute and then do it again. And
I am hungry.
That many didn't get fed. So when my kids were younger, sometimes I'd be working out of town or I'd get home late. Well, I'd call them and be like, Eddie, you feed tonight. And more than a couple times I come home and, when I first get home, like, did you feed them dogs? Oh yeah, I fed them. And then I'd hear Pluto out there with his 3 barks. And I said, get your butt out there and feed them dogs. You lied to me. You didn't feed them. I trust that Pluto dog more than I trust what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah. No, I got 10-year-old twins. Well, they're 9. But same thing. You feed them dogs, or you feed this, you feed the. Oh yeah, same thing. Why is that dog barking out there?
Yeah.
Oh, I might have forgot to feed that one. No.
Yeah.
Oh, you did it.
My kids picked up on it pretty quick. Pluto would sure let me know they was lying if they said they fed.
Yeah. You know, I'm not even really wanting to talk about dogs too much tonight. I want to get into I was really interested in your open range theory and the culture of it. So tonight we'll talk about dogs, of course, but I want to get into the open range. I want to talk a little bit about, did you say you were in one of the Houndsman associations?
I'm the vice president of the Oklahoma Dog Hunters Association.
So no one in Arizona wants to start one, and I think I'm going to start one. I'm going to start one, and I've called some people here, some people there, and they're like, yeah, but I need to get with you later on sometime and see what I need.
Yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, you should do it, but don't think you're going to make a whole bunch of friends doing it.
I'm already not well, I don't make friends anyways because I have my own opinions about genetics and dogs, and you know how it is with houndsmen, and I love every houndsman. I love every hound, even them stupid ones, because you'll learn something. If you don't learn what to do, you'll learn what not to do, or how not to act. So.
Well, probably like we started Oklahoma Dog Hunters in I'm terrible with dates, like totally terrible. I'm sure I'll miss it.
Just rounded about by years.
I think we started about 2017, somewhere in that time frame. And it had been knocking on my door for a couple of years. I was hesitant to do it because I was good friends with Jeremy Sullivan, and he used to head up the Arkansas Dog Hunter Association, which was an old association, but the leadership had really fallen into doing nothing for quite a few years. Then Jeremy took it over, and Jeremy kept hounding me, Ed, you got to start Oklahoma. I said, oh gosh. And I tried to pass it off to a number of guys that I thought would be good at it. And nobody really wanted to do it. And finally, Jeremy twisted my arm hard enough that, I wasn't going to go it totally alone, but I got Stuart Joslin. He's from down around McAllister, Oklahoma, kind of central Oklahoma. And then I got Chuck Allen, who lives up here kind of by me. So the three of us took it on. And, it's benefited Oklahoma dog hunters, I think. But, it's a lot of work. It's zero pay. You pay out of your own pocket for a lot of stuff. And then, I'm not trying to talk you out of it because you should do it.
No, I already know. I already know it's going to be this
on
way.
The downside, people just talk mountains of shit about you no matter what you do, and the thing is, we're not independently wealthy. We all have day jobs, inside jobs, and our schedules are tough, and we're trying to mix in the dog hunting, in our spare time with all that. So it's not an easy task. We do the best that we can do. In Oklahoma, we're really lucky because we're super conservative, and for the most part, at least the last 3 years, we haven't had a whole lot to go up against. So, people often, we're not doing a whole lot to the people that the people can see.
Yeah.
But we still keep those contacts, and we have a bankroll, and we're ready for whenever the serious issues pop up. Like the last 3 years.
And you have a print shop.
We have a print shop. So
that's handy.
Super handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should totally do it, or you got to get a group of guys to do it. One guy.
I'm just going to start it, and if I have to do it alone, I do it alone. It is what it is. I think the worst part is when I've talked to a few people and asked them, And they're like, oh, good luck with that. And I'm like, that's why. That's why those antis, they all have something in common, just like we do. We all have something in common. We all want to hunt dogs. We all want to have the freedom to hunt. But most of these guys, they're selfish. They're selfish little girls. I don't care how tough this guy is. He can run out 10 days chasing a lion. If you don't want to take a little time or donate a little money so someone else can give up their time, then you're just kind of a little B word.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the thing is, like the PETA, HSUS, they have huge bankrolls. They have a bunch of retired people that have spare time. They have all these resources that generally we don't have, so they can fight. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, so the last 3 years, pretty much all ODHA has fought was an anti-tether bill, an anti-chaining a dog up bill.
Mm-hmm.
But we fought it 3 years in a row. This year, they didn't even put it back up, which surprised the hell out of me. Because, see, we have to win every battle. They only have to win one battle.
Yeah.
So when they don't win it in 2000, in 2001, they reword some stuff. They work on their contacts. They throw it right back out. We have to win every single year, where all they have to do is win it one time.
Yeah. And it's gone.
Yeah. So I was super surprised that this year they didn't pop it back up. The last 3 years they had. But like I say, we're pretty lucky in Oklahoma. We obviously have a strong ranching community. We have the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association, which is super powerful in Oklahoma, far more powerful than PETA or HSUS.
Yeah.
And we work, I'm not going to say that we work totally hand in hand with cattlemen's because we butt heads a little bit. But generally, when stuff comes up, there's a crossover between dog hunting, dog ownership, and cattle ownership. So we kind of have a really strong ally here in Oklahoma, and they have the real power. So really, if we just kind of like when they pop up some proposed legislation, I mean, generally what we do is we think about how that might affect cattlemen, and then we go to Cattlemen's Association and we convince Cattlemen's Association that this legislation that's primarily about dogs but could be wider into livestock ownership, we convince them that it's in their best interest to oppose it, and then they kind of do a lot of the legwork for us.
Well, they hit those pig farms. Those organizations hit those pig farms and make them have bigger farrowing pens and bigger this. So it costs those pig farms, hog farms, a lot of money. And that's the same with cattle. What are they going to do? Come in and after they're bored with hounds and hunting, they're going to come in and say, "Hey, that's
the main thing is that, okay, so they pick low hanging fruit. And the dog hunter, we are low picking fruit. We're easy to pick off. But when they're done with us, they move on to cattlemen, hogmen, chicken guys. Then they go to rodeos. Then they go to pet ownership. I mean, their ultimate goal is a vegetarian society with no animal ownership. So they're just picking at us right now. If they take us out, they're not going to be happy. They just move on to the next lowest hanging fruit.
Yep. Speaking of an animal, Brett Vaughn, out just enjoying life with the convenience.
Look at that background.
A big sky behind him.
Yep.
That looks good. That. I wish I was there.
His wife is not going to like his mobile satellite internet.
Hey, Brett is married?
He is married.
I've been married.
That's the only reason he stays in line.
How is that possible?
I don't think this one will let him divorce her. So,
I found one that has a good job in town too.
exactly.
Oh, she's got money.
Yeah.
I'm a kept man.
She got any sisters?
And she'll make you gain 15 pounds in one weekend, I swear.
When I met her, I weighed about 192 pounds. Now I weigh 240 pounds.
You need to set up
she's just always giving you food.
You need to set up a wind guard, Brett.
Is it bad?
I can hear it.
I don't know. I could turn. I can get behind that. I can get behind that the tack room door here.
The convenience of technology.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
This Starlink's amazing. I mean,
he loves it. He's been on it every night.
He's on a satellite phone?
No, he's on Starlink. You got the mobile Starlink where you just set it up and point it north, and there you go.
But it's off a satellite?
Yeah.
Yeah. Elon Musk, me and him are tight.
Buddies.
He set it up for me.
Brett, you need to travel. Here's this.
Hey, Brett, if you're tight with Elon, you need to tell him to throw some money at the Dog Hunters Association.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I'll ask him.
Yeah, ask him. Next time you guys are having a beer, ask him.
I say,
whiskey.
Elon, how about throwing a little bit of money our way?
Just a little bit.
I mean, we don't need millions.
No.
I mean, one comma would be enough.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to get out the little alignment thing this time, Chris.
I just set it.
Looked at the sun, calculated north with my eyeballs, put it perfect.
There you go. Where you at, Brett?
What's that?
Well, how far out in the woods are you?
I'm not that far. Well, there's a highway over there about 6 miles.
And you can hear every semi driving down it still.
Yeah, can you hear it?
No. I've camped by them though.
I can't hardly hear them. I try to get far enough away from the highway. I went into town and I rented a room.
You got a shower.
To take a shower.
And
my little sister lives up here, and I took her out to eat. And man, after sleeping 2 nights in this rooftop tent and traveling, and I didn't smell real good. So
there's nobody there to smell it. There's nobody there to smell you.
Well, my little sister. I didn't want her to complain. She's kind of mean. And I mean, I found the grungiest motel you ever seen in your life.
By the hour. By the hour, and it only took you 10 minutes.
I asked that lady, I said, all I want is a shower. Can you rent me a room? $45. I said, just for a shower, $45.
You guys don't have truck stops or showers there?
Not around here. There are some. I mean, I've done that before. One time when I went down and seen Cody King and Ruben Lossman and all those guys, I went all the way down through Texas, and it was right during COVID too, right when everybody thought we were going to die of COVID. And I stayed gone, 6 nights, 7 days. And I slept on the ground the whole time and showered at truck stops. But that's not bad. I hate a motel. I can't stand to stay in a motel.
I don't sleep good in a motel.
Oh, me neither.
It doesn't matter if I'm going to sleep. If I know I'm going to be sleeping in a motel, I've got a gun beside me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a gun, there's something about a hotel. Like, I don't care if I'm staying at the Ritz-Carlton. Like, I'm not going to sleep good. I'm on edge all night.
Anybody can have a key.
Yeah.
I put a chair up against the door, so when it opens, they'll fall down because I'm a light sleeper. But I stayed at an Airbnb, and I'm gonna tell you, this first time I stayed at one of those, and it's like you walk into somebody's house you don't know. It's like you're breaking into it, and then you're sleeping in their beds. And I had chairs all up against the doors, and it was creepy.
I've done that a couple of times, and I kind of got the same vibe as you. I felt like I was in you are in somebody else's house.
Yeah.
I really got that vibe. Like, I'd never really got comfortable.
No. And then we had left, went and did some photo stuff, came back, and we was on my motorcycle. You have to have a gate for the forestry key. So you get into the forestry gate, then you go to the private property, and they have a keypad gate, but it wouldn't open. And the only thing that saved me is I was on my bike, and it had a little spot on the left side of that gate. I took my Harley through there, and went, and I thought, man, what if they thought they locked me in or locked us out and stole my stuff? I started to Benny up, my mind was going crazy.
Hey, we was hunting. It may not pertain to you guys, but it might come in handy to some people in Texas and Oklahoma. We was hunting. We have a lot of gas leases around here. So we was hunting, and they've got gates up. They'll have a gate up before you get to the gas well. So we had dogs bayed back in there, and if we could get through this gate, it'd be really handy. It'd save us a bunch of walking. So each gas well has an identity number. Of course, I don't remember what the identity. Let's just say it was 1169. So we're sitting at this gate. There's a padlock, and there's a sign there that says pump 1169. And my buddy goes, I'm going to see if 1169 is the combination on this padlock. And it was. So if you're ever stuck behind a gas lease gate and it's got a number, try the number as the padlock.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the same with construction sites. They have their dust control thing on there, and it says superintendent. Always use the last four of his number. It's always yeah. So
because they just tell them drivers, like, it's the same. The combo is the same number as the well pump.
Yeah. We was talking about organizations. Brett, every state needs one. They have one in New Mexico, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I have joined it and paid my dues and stuff like that. I've never been to a meeting or anything. I'm kind of like Rodney Dangerfield said. I don't want to be part of something that would allow me to be part of it.
Well, I'll tell you. So, like in Oklahoma, and I would encourage everybody, and I did this, this is not just hot air. Before Oklahoma had a dog hunter association, I would pay my yearly dues to Arkansas and Texas when Texas had one, even though I rarely hunted there, just because I thought that was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So, man, I would tell everybody, if there is a dog hunter association in your state, pay the dues. I mean,
you don't have to be part of it.
Ours is $20.
Yeah.
Arkansas is $10. I mean, that is, in today's world, that's chump change. I don't care if you think they're doing nothing. I guarantee you they're not doing nothing. Give them your $20 a year. What is that?
Yeah.
I mean, when we go hunting and we stop at the gas station, I spend $20 in a couple Gatorades and a couple candy bars.
Man, your wind's ripping right now.
Sorry, guys.
But everybody has to remember that the guys running these associations are dudes just like them.
Yeah.
They're going to a welding job. They got 2 kids. They're doing the best damn job they can do. Don't give them grief.
Yeah.
Instead of giving them grief, jump in and give them a helping hand.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the meetings. Like, we used to do meetings, and we still do every once in a while whenever something pops up. But we would have meetings, and lots of times we would get legislators to come to the meeting, to talk to the guys about an issue that we were having or whatever, guys that were on our side. And, we'd advertise it for 2 weeks, send out emails to all of our enrollees for the year. And you know, we'd be doing good if we got 10 people there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's easy to throw shade at the guys, but I would just say instead of throwing shade at the guys trying to run it and trying to do something, save that energy and try to help them, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get comfortable here, guys, out of the wind.
You're gonna have to set your little trailer up for podcasting and lives now, Brett.
I have to buy a bigger trailer.
That's what oh, Tammy will let you. Yeah, that I just heard. I was listening to who is that? That Heath guy, Heath
Hyatt.
Hyatt, and I think they were talking about you know, just paying your dues at least pay your dues. So
Well, you know, we contribute to a lot. I mean, you contributed also, didn't you, Chris, to that the deal there in Colorado?
Save Your Hunt, Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I sent them money.
I sent a couple $100. One guy sent me $100 to send him. You know?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Tim DeBoard, yeah.
So I mean, I of course you can ask Chris. I mean, like we got that Hound Hunters deal coming up in Arizona here. When is it? The end of August?
August 25th.
I'm just not real good at organizing stuff like that, and it, honestly, when things start to get too big, I start to get a little hesitant, just because that's just my nature. I do all right just like this.
I mean, that's kind of part of the problem is that as dog hunters, we're kind of loners and a little bit outcasts. Maybe that's me projected a bit, but
no, you're right.
Outlaws. You know, it's just there's a different. I just watched a thing about perception and you know what you perceive, perception and perspective. You know, the perception of it and what's the actual perspective of it. And the dog guys, we just don't have a good reputation, no matter how nice you are, you know.
And we've brought a lot of it on ourselves.
Yes. Yep. And that's why you need somebody. You need somebody who knows how to talk to people. Somebody,
a good spokesperson.
Yeah, and that's hard to find in the dog world, you know.
The thing is, so like in the political realm, if a senator gets a call from somebody, you know, opposing something, they assume that if one person called them, there's 20 people or 19 people that are thinking the exact same as them that didn't make that phone call. So a lot of times people say, oh man, what could I do? I'm just one little dude. But if you make that phone call to your local representative, it hits harder because he knows that if he's hearing this from one person, like I say, there's 19 other people that are thinking the exact same thing that just think they don't have the time or don't think they're important enough to make that phone call. So your voice is actually bigger than you think it is.
Yeah.
So like when we have an issue in Oklahoma, and we have, like I say, we haven't in the last few years, but before that we did. So when we had larger issues pop up, we would put what we called was a call to arms out to everybody. So we would say, and it's tough, like I say, because we're all blue collar dudes for the most part, but it'd be like, we need to be at the Capitol Wednesday at 9 a.m. We're all going to meet up, and then we're all going to go together around all the offices and talk to them. So even when we would have 7 or 8, 9 people show up, when 9 people walk into a senator's office and we say, we're here to talk about Bill 3482, I'm telling you, like, they take notice of that because that does not happen every day.
Yeah.
Well, those antis are numbers.
It is easier to do than we think it is.
Yeah.
And we do have a bigger voice than we think we perceive that we do. But it just takes, you know, And like I say, not everybody can do it, but it just does take that like sacrifice to say, I'm going to tell my boss I can't be there Wednesday, and going and doing something. It does make a big difference.
I think that's the biggest thing is the people who run dogs can't afford to take off work for one, because dogs break them. Those people like Jesus and PETA and all them, they don't got jobs. They're housewives who are sitting at home, or people who they're not working.
And that's what we do. I mean, with ODHA. So we, when the shit hits the fan, we contact senators, all contact senators and say, I'm Ed Barnes. I represent Oklahoma Dog Owners Association, and I will email them our membership list. So I said, I'm speaking for this many hundreds of people, and we are saying this. And they seriously take note of that.
And they know
that's the key right there, too. When you say, I'm just one person, if you are part of an organization or association, and they have hundreds of people in that, that's your weapon. When you pull that trigger, you have a lot of ammo. If you just give them a piece of paper with 10 people on it, it don't look as good, so pay that $10, $20,
Yeah. I mean, that's what we always tell people is that, we're taking your 20, we charge $20 a year. So we say and we honestly do, we take the $20 and it goes into a savings account that is rarely touched. Like even when ODHA, when our, I don't know what you call it, when the people that work for ODHA, when we go to the Capitol, we go there on our own dime. We buy our own gas. We don't take it out of ODHA funds. When we eat lunch, we take it out of our own pocket. So all that money is just sitting in a savings account waiting for the time that it's really needed. And that's usually what crops up. When people start complaining about organizations, they're like, oh,
yeah.
If I go buy a new truck tomorrow and people knew it, I promise you on Facebook, there are people going, oh, Ed just bought a new truck. Oh, yeah. I bet he bought that with ODHA money.
I wish.
Yeah. The money's not there. I mean, the money's not there. It's not. The people that are doing it. I'll tell you straight up, there is no money there to be grafted. The people that are doing it because they feel an obligation to do it. And if somebody steps up and does it, that's the reason why they're doing it, because the money is not there.
Yeah. Well, they don't want to lose their rights, their privileges. I don't even know if it's hardly a right no more, because they can take them away.
Yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't call it a right. I definitely wouldn't call it a right.
I think
to me, it's a right. It's my right as a human being to hunt.
Yeah.
And all the laws that go against my right to hunt, I see as an infringement. That doesn't mean I'm going to buck them all. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go along with them, but I see them as an infringement, because it's not even, I mean, you could say it's a God-given right. I'll even go further. It's just a human right. Just me as a human being. It's my right.
Being on this earth.
Yeah.
Well, they go back. They pick and choose what they want to talk about. They go back to history. Oh, well, so-and-so owned the lands before. Oh, so-and-so did this. But, man, we've been hunting since day one.
George Washington ran foxhounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most all of our founding fathers ran dogs on game.
Adam just didn't eat out of the garden.
It wasn't Adam.
He hunted too. Yeah, it wasn't Adam that did that.
It was Brett's wife who did that.
His first wife. Yeah, and I think the most important thing is getting youth involved. Get them interested in. There's probably stuff you can do as a houndsman association too to, and like the good thing about technology is you guys can have your meetings every night if you wanted, just like this right now. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the podcasting thing, but like, I mean, just kind of by who we are, like dog hunters for the most part are a little bit technology ignorant. I don't mean that in a bad way. So it's harder than it seems, because we tried that during COVID. So, gosh, I mean, I almost hate to say it, but so I'm the president of the Oklahoma Hound Pack, which is a political action committee, and I've been president for probably about 4 years. And we have a shit ton of money sitting there that we use. I mean, we're registered with the state as a PAC, so we have strict guidelines we have to go by. But we have a huge bankroll that we can throw out to political candidates that kind of fit our criteria. If we think they fit our criteria, we can donate to their campaigns and stuff. There's lots of rules that go with it. But why I say that is because so during COVID, most of the board members of that are fairly old, like in their 70s. So they were, for the most part, pretty scared of COVID. And we usually just had 2 meetings a year, but during COVID, everybody was kind of afraid. So we tried to do like Zoom meetings, and it just didn't work because of the age of the guys and the technology.
they didn't know how to get on.
Yeah, it didn't mesh.
Yeah, no,
But
I
these
get
things
it.
are super important, but kind of boring too. people are probably getting bored.
Well, they do get bored, but they don't realize that if they don't do something, they're going to lose it all anyways. You know.
I mean, what I say is that we got an uphill battle, and we are going to lose. It's just how long we can fend off. It's a war of attrition at this point. We're going to lose. We just are trying to hold on for as long as possible.
Why do you believe we're going to lose? What?
Just because the general direction that society is taking, we are so outnumbered, so incredibly outnumbered, that I just don't see a way that we surpass that.
Do you think it's mainly because of the perception that people have?
I mean, it's multifaceted. I mean, a big part of it is just rural versus urban voters.
Yeah,
So,
well,
like,
I see that. Yeah.
in Oklahoma, we lost the right to fight chickens in 1999, I believe it was.
Yep.
There was 2 counties. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how many counties we got in Oklahoma, but it's got to be around 60. 2 and it went up to a popular vote. 2 counties got chicken fighting outlawed in Oklahoma, and it was Tulsa County and Oklahoma City County. So you got 2 counties against probably, I think it's 66 counties we got. So, I mean, that just basically comes down to a rural versus urban. And what's kind of interesting is that, so with Trump in 2016, Trump kind of turned that rural urban on its head, So, I mean, that is a glimmer of hope,
And that's Oklahoma. That's not California. It's Oklahoma. They outlawed it in California. They did the same thing. And then I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money off chicken fighting. And then
just to give you a that's in Oklahoma. So just to give you a comparison, when Obama ran his first and second term, he did not win a single county in Oklahoma.
Wow.
Like, that's how conservative we are. But we still
Maybe I
lost.
can move to Oklahoma.
We still lost our right to fight chickens.
Yep.
Primarily on an urban versus rural voter. So you got that. And then you just have this general,
you know how many people I ask, do you hunt? And they say, I did when I was a kid, and they had kids. So they used to hunt as a kid, or they used to get outdoors, and then they be an adult and they had kids, and that tradition stopped. So now there are kids who are just playing on phones and tablets. They don't have no clue of hunting.
Well, I mean, what a huge part of that is just a connection to a land. So, like, you know, when I was a kid in Oklahoma, we lived in town, but my grandparents lived in the country.
Mhm.
So I still had a place to go hunt. I could go hunt at my grandparents' place. But those connections are being lost, and people don't have that connection to a place to hunt. And it sounds kind of crazy, but I think a big part of it is kind of the Disney culture,
That's it.
where kids grow up watching animals speak and have human emotions. And like I say, I mean, a lot of people won't get it. They'll think I'm crazy or whatever. That plays into a person's psyche.
Yeah.
I mean, the big word is anthropomorphizing animals. We're making animals seem like people.
Yeah.
So who wants to go kill an animal? Who wants to go kill a rabbit and eat it when they grew up watching rabbits run around on two legs and talk and have human emotions?
Well, what's the biggest when you're talking about anything with hunting, the biggest quote or saying is you're going to shoot Bambi?
Yeah, I mean,
Always.
that's what. Yeah,
Always.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, Bambi didn't talk, but they gave Bambi and his mom human emotions, and so in kids' minds that grew up watching that and all those cartoons, that is almost no different than shooting a person.
Well, it's like the scene in Bambi when you hear her calling his name. Come here, Bambi. And it's a call.
Yeah.
But they make it like a deception of a very sad deception. Like your mom's calling, you go over there and you get slaughtered.
I mean, I think that has a big part. I mean, that's a big part of it. That's a psychological game. And I'm not saying that Walt Disney, had this end game in his
did it
mind.
on purpose in the beginning.
No, I don't think he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that in today's world there are some people that use that as a mechanism, but I don't think that's the original intent. I mean, it's funny,
Well, now you got cartoons coming out with same-sex relationships, cartoons,
and those people understand what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're using these techniques as propaganda.
Yep.
They can get into a child or even an adult's mind. They can get into a mind without that mind even realizing that this message is being pushed on them.
And it's not just TV no more. I equivalent cell phone to heroin, because if you're a junkie and you leave the house and you forget your stash of heroin, you're going to turn around and go get it. And that's no different than a phone.
Oh yeah.
You always have a phone. A junkie always has a fix. And all that right now is with you all the time. TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram,
I think
it's at your fingertips.
I think it's important as hunters for us to, it's fun to show a video or pictures of a dog dogs on a tree, or dogs baying a hog, or even a
that's a good segue, because I wanted to go into social media. So that's what I want to get into now, is social media.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big rat's nest. But I think it's important. What I was getting at is it's important to show, like, that stuff's fun to show.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Oh yeah, but I think it's more important. Hunting is about, to me, at least to me, a huge part of hunting is about putting meat on a table.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was introduced to it. You know, it really wasn't about the thrill of killing something. It was about putting meat on the table. So I think it's important for us as hunters to show what we do with that deer or hog or squirrel or rabbit after our dogs catch it. You know, that's really where I get the most enjoyment.
Somebody was talking about trophy hunting. They said everything you kill is a trophy. You know, as a kid, when I was deer hunting, you did both. If you got a deer, you were excited and you put meat on the table. These days, I notice that most people that say you're wasting your time are people who hunt for antlers.
Yeah.
Period. You know what
Like
I mean?
you're excited about it, but like so whenever so when my boy Eddie was probably, I think he was around 12, and it was deer season, and I had to work, you know, and he was old. I mean, he grew up around it. He knew how to handle himself, so he's off, you know, from school, and I was like, I got to go to work tomorrow morning, but I was like, go ahead and go deer hunting, you know, and told him where to go, and he called me that morning. He's like, I got one. I got a doe. Like he was super excited about it.
By
But
himself.
By himself. But really,
Yes.
when I saw him really like, probably the proudest he was when we ate that deer.
Yeah. He
'Cause
brought home the food this time.
Yeah. He put it on the table. And I think he was more proud of that than when he pulled the trigger.
That reminds me of a story real quick. My daughter was a dispatch police department. I get a call and says, "Hey, where's Legend and Kyle?" I said, they're going to school, but I think they said they jumped some elk over here. He goes, yeah, they left their truck running on the side of the road, both doors open. And there's 4 cops that pulled up, and she got the dispatch, you know, Red Dakota. There's only one Red Dakota in that town. Everybody knows that would do that. And sure as heck, you know, I was on my way to town. I pulled in, and there was 4 cops around it, and I pulled it off the road with her. And I said, well, they seen elk, and they're out there, you know. But I raised my kids that way. You know, they were, I don't know, 14 and 16, you know.
I was going to ask you guys. So, bear season in New Mexico, when is it? Is it the third weekend, Brett?
Of August?
September, isn't it? Or the first?
Well, we have it opens for a little while in August, and then it closes during the archery part of September, and then it opens back up.
What other game will be open during bear dog in New Mexico?
Lion, and
they're all year, right? Lions all year, Brett?
Yeah, lions year round, and 2 tags. You tag a lion, then you can go back in and get another tag.
Well, not just with the dog, like with the rifle.
You know, archery, deer, you know, it depends. They have it all separated into you got to draw everything too. There's, I think, what is over the counter? I'd have to look. And you know, you guys talking about hunting deer and elk or whatever and hunting food. I have just always been fascinated with hunting predators. I mean, I would walk by a trophy buck just to go, you know, trail a lion. I've never had that. Besides, I don't really like venison very much. But
really,
no, I really don't. I like the backstrap. Backstrap's good.
You got to bottle it, and then you can eat it 10 years later in tacos. You'll be all right.
I like the backstrap. That's real good. But and elk's good. Oryx is the best thing I've ever ate in my life. I mean, of course it's not a native species, but when I went hunting oryx, I hunted for the meat. I mean, that's what all I cared about.
Isn't that real red?
We got them right in our backyard. What's that?
Isn't that meat real red?
Oh yeah, and it's really good.
Well, I know
my wife had a friend whose brother got sent overseas, and he had shot an oryx, and they didn't know what to do with the meat, and so she called me and she said, "Hey, they shot this oryx," and I said, "Ah, man, I'll take it. If nothing else, I'll grind it up and feed it to the dogs, And they brought it out there, and we started eating that stuff. And I tell you what, every year after that, I put in for an oryx tag because it was the best meat, better than beef, better than anything I ate. I mean, it was good. And I don't like I said, I don't like venison. I like the backstrap. It's all right. And elk is good. I like elk. I mean, who
love
doesn't
elk.
like elk?
I
Yeah,
love
who doesn't
bear.
like elk?
I'll tell you what to do
But-
with that deer that you don't think is going to be good. Cube it all up into like what you would consider like a stew mix.
Yeah.
And can it. It is so tender. Oh man.
I'm 100%. My little brother got a bear last year, and I bottled every bit of it. 20 jars, bottled it. And I have stuff from 2010. I just fed some Texans, made some tacos and tamales out of I had bottled bear and I had bottled elk. And
when you say bottle, you're talking cannon.
Canned, yeah, I call it bottled.
There's something about it. Like you can take the crappiest parts of an animal and can it, and it just there's something about it.
Now I dump like a teaspoon of either slap your mama or like garlic, and I'll put a garlic clove in it sometimes, just a clove.
Yeah.
Little garlic clove in it. But if you season it up too, I did that with dove. I didn't even de-breast it. I just cut the wings, pulled the breast out, bones and everything, shoved them in a can, put jalapenos in it, bottled it. And when I pulled those out, you could eat the bones.
Yeah.
They were so just
really good,
soft. Oh man.
There's a lot of people are afraid to can meat, and it is trickier. I mean, you have to
be careful.
You got to have your ducks in a row. My grandma showed us how to can meat. And,
there's a trick to it. I just pile it in there.
I mean, it has to be right. Or
I raw pack all mine, but
what do you mean?
Raw pack? What does that mean?
Like I put it in there raw and then cook it.
Oh, and you cook it afterwards.
Yeah,
we don't put it in there cooked.
Like on deer, we just cube it up, like the worst cuts that are tough. Cube it up, put it in a jar with potato, onion, garlic.
Oh yeah, make a stew.
Sometimes jalapeno. And yeah, I mean it goes in the jar raw, but then you cook it.
Yep.
I mean, for everybody out there, if you ever do it and you go to open that can and the lid is pooched way up, don't eat it.
Oh yeah. You gotta make sure it's sealed.
Pop when you open it.
It's gotta be good.
You'll hear it.
It can pop and still be bad.
Oh, it can.
But, yeah.
But that little can or little lid that goes on the top, if it's bubbled out, it's no good.
If it's bubbled out, don't eat it because you can get botulism from that.
I haven't got it yet. I just cook it.
I haven't got it either.
And I've ate stuff from 99, so
you just got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing.
Well, that's anything. But
it's not
favorite.
It's not that hard.
I tell everybody, no matter what you do in life, just can stew because a quart of stew a day will keep you alive.
I eat stew all winter.
Oh man, and I have some from 2010. I'm just barely getting out of my 2010, getting into my 2012. Stew.
You're getting into vintage. You're getting into vintage.
Oh yeah, I'm popping.
Like in wine language, that's vintage.
I tell you what, there ain't a person out there that. What I do is I mark off the top a little bit, and I'll put 2020 or 2022 or whatever, and I'll let them eat it. And they're like, "Man, that's the best stew." And then I let them know that it's like 14 years old.
How do you do the bear, Chris? How do you do it?
Same thing. I just raw pack it,
cube it all up.
Yep. Cube it all up, shove it in there as much as I can, leave an inch head space, dump.
And you put a clove of garlic in there with it and a jalapeno or something, and
teaspoon of salt.
Teaspoon of salt.
The salt's more the preservative.
And
Or
you
I'll
use
put it.
those, what are those jars called? Mason jars.
Yeah, that's what I use.
And
Yep.
you have to heat them up or heat.
If you're
Go through the
canning,
process.
I
Let me
usually
know.
wash mine. I bought a whole pallet off a Beekeeper for $500. So I got mason jars, and they're not wide mouth, but I don't care. I'll shove it
When
in
you're
there
doing-
anyway.
when you're-
Make sure. What's that?
When you're doing meat, Chris, you're doing a pressure, like an actual pressure can.
Pressure canner, not water
Yeah.
bath.
Yeah, you can't do water bath with meat. Or
Yeah, you
I don't know
shouldn't.
how to do it. You shouldn't. Do
I-
it.
What's the
have a
difference? What's the
pressure
difference?
cooker.
Water bath and pressure cooking. There's like 5,000 people out there wondering what you're talking about.
You have to get on YouTube. Water bath, you put them in, there's water, it bubbles, you boil it, and it kind of goes above and sucks out. A lot of people do that for what, Jello or jams and
Jams and vegetables. Where like
Mhm.
a pressure cooker, it's a pot with a lid on it that seals, so it's under pressure. That's what you want to do meat in, as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people are afraid of it because there's all these old wives' tales about the pressure getting too high and these pots exploding and whatever.
Well, you remember the old ones. There was no relief valve. You had the gauge on it.
Yeah,
So you had to watch that gauge.
You had to
If
watch the
walked
gauge.
away to take a piss. You come back and that gauge would be. But nowadays those mirrors, they got the little the weight, and then they got that little relief valve now. So
yeah. If you
Pretty
buy
safe.
if you buy a modern pressure cooker, I mean, unless you're just trying to, you're not going to blow that thing up.
yeah. And you can hear it. Once you do it a few times, it's great. And I'm a Rebel can, like butter. They say you can't, but you can. You water bath it. You melt it, and you melt it, and then you heat up. You put it in the oven. It's not water bathing, but you put it in the oven and get it 250 degrees, whatever it is, and then just the tops on it. So when it cools down, it seals that butter in.
Yeah.
They call it Rebel canning because you're not supposed to do it, but a lot of people do.
Yeah. It's
Why aren't you supposed to do it?
It's a dairy product, I guess. It's
You're not supposed to can dairy products.
I don't know. Here's my favorite story to tell. In 1876, there was a ship that sank in the Mississippi. 1974, they dug this ship out, and a university they had a bunch of jarred food. Granted, it was sealed underwater in mud, and there was no oxygen, no light. But they took this out, and in 1976, they opened these cans, and everything besides like maybe the color of it, all the nutrition was there, the taste was still there. I would have loved to try a 100-year-old bottle of peaches.
Oh, that'd be cool.
You know what I mean? But they said it was all still sealed. So, and I get like your expiration dates are just a liability. My wife used to be real bad. Oh, it's expired. You've had this on your shelf for 3 years. I'm like, I'll eat it. Don't throw it away. So an expiration date's really just a liability. So unless it's milk, then usually it's bad before the expiration date.
Yeah.
I always say everything old is better than everything new, except when it comes to milk.
Anthony, I've cleared my throat since I was 12 years old. It's a habit. I try not to, but I can't.
And Anthony,
It's irritating Anthony.
It's irritating all of us.
Here,
well,
let me just block all you guys. That's irritating.
He's totally right, though. Local honey.
It does. You know what makes it worse?
Whiskey's good for everything, but like
sugar.
So if you have really bad allergies, try to find some local honey.
Yeah,
because they're making that honey from all those pollens or all those fruits.
Well, you do, like I live in the Cedars, so I buy it, but I take a lot of garlic too. No, it's not allergies.
Man, when I was a kid, you did not. When I was around my grandparents, you did not. If you were sick, I don't care if you thought you were dying, you did not. You played it off. You didn't mention it. My grandma Courtney on
Tonic.
my mother. No, yeah, my grandma Courtney on my mother's side. If you so much as coughed, she would go to the kitchen and get a clove of garlic. Not, I mean, like a whole. I don't know. Is a clove the
Yeah,
single
little-
things?
yeah, the clove. Yeah, the clove is just the one piece
One-
out of the whatever it's called, bushel or.
She would make you eat multiple
Mm.
cloves raw. But I mean, but there's like most of those old, like most of that old shit. There is like science behind it. So like when
Yeah.
you eat raw garlic, it boosts your immune system.
Mhm.
So if you were getting sick, you ate a bunch of raw garlic.
You know
It
what?
tasted terrible.
My wife does now. When the kids start getting a cough or stuffed up, she puts onions in their socks at night.
In their socks.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It works. Who is that old lady that gets on and talks about all the remedies, like Barbara something or?
I don't know.
She
But
talks,
I mean, there's truth. There is truth to most of that stuff because
Yeah, good. I mean, the onions in the socks. You'd have to prove that to me.
they say it pulls stuff out of you.
it does. I asked my
It's a
wife.
It's a drawing agent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she does it. She just did it the other day. I think we were last weekend or weekend before.
You have to
My
peel the
gra-
onion.
Yeah, you just cut it up, put little
Slice it, yeah.
and you just put like the rings in their socks, and they sleep with it.
My grandma was, like I say, garlic.
It works.
And if you said you had a headache, this woman would bust out the castor oil.
Yep.
I'm like, what does castor oil have to do with a headache? Just gonna make me be in the bathroom all day.
You know what my dad's been doing? Olive oil. A teaspoon a day of extra virgin olive oil.
Oh, that's good
And
for
he's-
you.
And he says he's not clouded up no more. You know how you get all cloudy and you're like, can't think? Yeah, now you probably can't sleep, but extra virgin oil.
I put olive oil on everything. I don't use any seed oils, any canola.
No.
That stuff's bad.
I'm a
for
bear fat guy. That's why,
I'm a hog-
besides
I'm
making
a-
soap.
I'm a hog fat guy.
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the best.
And you know what's funny is like they used to say that beef tallow, hog lard, all this is bad for you. Like everything, they always switch all this stuff all the time.
Propaganda.
They've switched it now, and they say that hog lard is way better for you
Oh yeah.
than most.
Animal fat.
Animal fats are better for you than vegetable fats.
Absolutely.
So I'm on that
And that's one of
carnivore diet. And it's
Man, I went on that for like 2 or 3
Carnivore?
months.
BBBC. Beef, bacon, butter, cheese.
That's about all I eat. I eat some vegetables.
That's what I'm
too.
saying. Brett's already on it.
I went on it for a couple months, maybe a few months.
Did it help?
And man, it did. I felt great.
Yeah.
Oh, you feel good.
I felt really good. But I mean, it sounds. I mean, I hate to even say it because people make fun of me when I say it. But like I started getting gout in my left foot,
Yeah.
and then I started reading on it, and that's because I was eating primarily like steak,
Yeah.
and because I don't like chicken, I can't take chicken, and I think most of the chicken you buy at the store is so
Dirty.
dirty. It can't be good for you. So
I'm like you. I don't like chicken.
I don't
I
like the
eat
taste of it.
Yeah, I
And then
eat beef and pork.
and then you mix chicken with the way Tyson grows them things and all the chemicals they put in it. It
Yep.
can't be good for you. So I was on a strictly red meat, and heart attacks run in my family.
But have you been tested?
Tested
Well-
for what?
Well, I mean,
Like
check
cholesterol.
Well, not even
No.
cholesterol. I don't even worry about cholesterol. See, I've been doing this for quite a while. I mean, even after I'd met my wife, I say how much weight I gained. I lost a lot of weight by going straight keto or carnivore, and mostly carnivore. And this last year was when I had some health issues, and I went to the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack. I mean, things were bad, but I was in AFib. My heart was skipping beats. And I'll tell you what I blame that to. I blame that to the vaccine, to the COVID vaccine.
Oh,
And
you took it?
well, I didn't know any better.
Don't bring it up.
I know. It was stupid. Let's don't talk about that.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, I could.
Well, anyway, I was at the hospital and everything, and they're checking me out and everything. And then I went in and had a stress test, and came back where they said I had blockage. They said it came back abnormal. You got blockage. And they said, well, there's only a 65% chance that it's correct. So there was, 45% chance or whatever it is to that it's wrong, 35, whatever it is. Anyway, man, and that was right after I went and packed into the wilderness. I told my wife, I said, if I'm going to die, I'm not going to sit here in this chair and die. So I loaded up 2 mules. I packed in the wilderness for a few days. And anyway, I came back and they said, we're going to put you on the table and we're going to go in your heart and look and see what's going on. And while I was on the table, the doctor told me, said, you're clear as a bell. Said, there's no blockage in there whatsoever. And I've been eating for probably 5 years, 6 years, keto and have fairly high cholesterol, but it's the good cholesterol.
There's a guy that came on Meat Eater, and he ate nothing but meat.
Oh yeah, there's lots of guys. Jordan Peterson, he eats nothing but beef. Dr. Sean Baker, he eats nothing but beef. Jordan Peterson's daughter, she eats nothing but beef.
Yeah. And his cholesterol, he had no cholesterol. He had no heart problems. So,
I'm telling you.
I think that's what we were put on this planet to eat, and these vegans who are going to die at 40 years old from all that crappy Starbucks and whatever else they eat.
Well, the worst thing you can do is eat processed food, I think. Anything that's highly processed.
It's hard not to get any of that. You know what I mean? If you go to Walmart or Safeway, you're going to get it. Unless you're making your food 100%. It's like we've been making butter lately. And I taught my sister how to make butter. Now no one wants to eat that other crappy butter. Even though it says real butter, that stuff we make, it's not the same. So.
When I was a kid, that's what I did. I mean, I remember sitting there turning the crank, churning butter. We had a Jersey cow, and that was my job. I had to milk that cow every morning and every night. And it was a Jersey cow, so she made a lot of cream, and we made our own butter and everything.
Oh, it's so good.
It was good.
And
what I remember best is, we'd have the big old jar of milk in the refrigerator, and going in the morning, getting my cup of coffee and taking the saran wrap off the top of that jar. And there would be, that much cream on top of that milk. And because of Jersey gives a lot of cream, dipping that cream off and putting my coffee.
Yep. Now my sister, she loves that buttermilk. She gets out of when you make butter. She drinks all of it. I don't get nothing.
The good buttermilk. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyways, we was talking about social media before we got off on that tangent.
Where did I started telling a good story and Ed left. He didn't even hear my good story. Nope. It must not have been that good of a story.
I was about to pop. I'm getting old. I got to hit the bathroom.
Man, I make sure I go before I get on.
I do too, but
you just wait. It only gets worse, buddy.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, I used to hunt with this old guy, Lee George, and we hunted from the time I was probably in my early 30s till I was probably in my early 40s. So I was in my early 30s. He was around 70. And Lee told me, let me try to see how I can say this on a podcast.
Just say it. I can edit it.
Lee said, Ed, don't ever pass up an opportunity to pee or a good boner.
You never know.
Hey, I took that advice, and I have 9 kids.
You got 9 kids?
Yeah.
Jeez, don't get him started on that tangent. There was-
9 kids?
This
wasn't
thing
my
might go
fault.
on for 5 hours.
I
wasn't
think
my
it probably
fault.
was your fault.
No. Hey, I was just poking fun. They took me serious. That's all I can say.
Serious.
They took it
9.
serious.
9
You know,
kids.
Yeah, and then my wife now, she decided, well, why be pregnant 4 times? You can have 4 kids and only be pregnant twice. So yeah, she machine gunned them out.
Twins.
What's that?
9 kids.
Yeah, 2 sets of twins, and we have no twins in my family whatsoever. I had twins.
Usually
My
twins
wife-
come from, so like my mom was a twin.
Yeah,
So all growing up, I got a younger sister. So everybody always told my sister that twins they're on the mother's side.
they will.
It's not the male side. It's the woman who's releasing 2 eggs. So everybody said, oh, get ready. They were telling my sister, get ready, because you're probably gonna have twins. She never did. She had 3, but no twins.
Well,
And you got 2 sets of twins?
so my wife, none of her family had twins, and then bam,
None of-
2 sets of twins. No,
None of her
maybe
family?
way down the line, but nothing recent. My daughter, she had a baby and had 1 baby, but she used to make fun of my wife, kind of talk shit to her, like, I don't know what the big deal is, like having twins. She had a set of twins.
No, yeah.
Nothing in none of my side family, but her mom's side of the family, nothing. That's karma. That's karma. Talking crap. She had those babies, went to my wife and said, man, I'm sorry. I used to talk shit and say, I don't know how you, like, why it's such a big deal. I know now.
That's twice the.
Oh,
I tell you
boy.
what, my youngest daughter, her and her husband, they couldn't get pregnant, normal way. So she went and they do in vitro or
vitro.
whatever they do. So
That's
they
where
had-
that happens.
Well, they only had the first one that was messed up, and it was kind of a tragic situation, but they got 1 girl out of it. The next one, they got another girl out of it. The next one, they got another girl out of it. So they said they were done. They had 3 girls. They were healthy girls. They were done. They couldn't get pregnant the normal way. And then all of a sudden, got pregnant the normal way.
Happens.
Had a set of twins too. So
Oh,
now they
boy.
got 5 kids.
Well, they're
And they got their
they're
boy
lucky.
though. They got the twins. The last set of twins was a boy and a girl, and so they got their boy.
We had
always
2
want- I
girls,
always-
2 boys.
I always wanted a big family, not 9.
Well, they're spread out. They're spread out. So I got,
Yeah,
my youngest are 5 years old. So I still got a good 13 years of feeding my dogs. So
Yeah, I mean that's expensive.
Like,
yeah, I had to
Asian,
spread them out. And then
Like
I went and yep. So if she gets pregnant now, I'm getting child support from somebody.
Yeah, I had 2 girls and 1 boy with my ex-wife, and I always wanted another boy, but after that 3rd one, she was like, "Nope."
Selfish.
I had 2 girls, and after the last girl was born and everything, I was just so fortunate to have 2 kids that are healthy and everything's good. I'm happy with that. And then of course, I got a divorce.
That's what I always did. So like, I'm not getting divorced once, but when them kids came out, because our first wasn't born at home because there was complications. We had to go to the hospital. The other 2 were born at home. But when they came out, all I did was the first thing I did was I didn't even notice if they were girl or boy. I'm just looking at fingers and toes,
Making
Count
sure
the
they're all
10.
there.
making sure everything's right.
Yeah.
If everything's right, I'm good with it, boy or girl. I mean, I'd rather
Yeah.
have boys, but I shouldn't. say
Yeah.
that.
Oh no, they're a lot easier, man. They're a lot easier.
I
They
never
are
had my
easier.
boys, but I got a grandson that, I've kind of more or less, I've been the male influence in his life. So him and I have done a lot of things together. So it's
Yeah,
good enough.
that's super fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I can
It's
send
really
him away.
fun. It's really fun to as a guy to be that, because I've just got the 1 boy and he's a great kid. But over the years, because like I say, we live in a really poor area, lots of drugs, and there's
Oh,
lots
wow.
of bad parents, but I've had the opportunity to, like, not for long stretches, but you know, some medium stretches, kind of like guide a boy who didn't really have a male figure in his life.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun, I think.
Well, you know, I have a nephew that, matter of fact, if you get a chance, watch his video. He's got a channel called Mountain Misfits Outdoors. And matter of fact, he just made a video about me. And it's not like I raised him or anything. His dad's a good guy and took care of him. But me and him kind of clicked. He liked to do the same things I do. And it was fun having somebody that liked what I did and I could influence in that way. And we've had a good, he's a big guy now. He's 25. I don't know how old he is now, but he does his own thing, makes YouTube videos and goes out, and he doesn't ride mules or anything or have hounds, but he goes out and hunts and camps and fishes and does outdoor adventures.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think a lot of these people are so busy working these days. They used to do it as a kid, and it just maybe haven't had the chance to get their kids or grandkids into it. And I think it's just like, to me, it's just like the Navajos. They want to be traditional, but they don't teach their kid the language. So that language just gets further and further and further away. I think they said there's I want to say 6,000 or 3,000 languages in the world today. And they say within the next 50 years or 100 years, there's only going to be 300 languages.
Yeah.
So much of it's being lost. And that's the same with any culture, you know?
Yeah. I live in the capital of the Cherokee Nation, and there's fewer and fewer people that can really speak Cherokee. Cherokee Nation government does really push it, and they teach classes. Like, my kids aren't fluent, but they all went through the class and learned a little bit. My grandfather was fluent in Cherokee, and that was just 50 years ago. But it is dying, and it's super cool. I remember one time I was driving through Arizona. Me and a buddy was coming back from California. This has been almost 30 years ago. Probably not that long ago. But we was driving through Arizona, and, this is pre-cell phone and all that. So we was just flipping the radio dial, and we were flipping the dial and came across this radio station where they were speaking Navajo.
660.
I've listened to that same station.
That's Navajo. I think it's 660, Navajo Nation, NN 660 or so, whatever.
No,
it was probably AM radio, yeah. And of course,
real quick, just to tell you what I heard. They go, Wrangler jeans.
Yep.
Okay. Well, when we was driving through, it was blah blah blah. Hank Williams III, and we were like, what? And like, we started listening. We really tuned in then.
Yeah.
And we saw Hank III play on a Navajo reservation somewhere in Arizona. It was super cool. Like, it was just like us two white boys and a bunch of Navajo guys. And we had a blast that night. It was super fun. And we just totally stumbled across it.
Yep. No, they play like Navajo music too.
Yeah.
Not just the country stuff, but
yeah, we were enticed just by we knew where we were at, so we knew it was Navajo. But,
yep.
When we tuned in, they were just speaking Navajo. We couldn't understand obviously a word, but we just kept listening because it was cool. And then Hank 3 came out of that somewhere.
Yep. You know what I want to talk about? Game wardens.
Let's not talk about game wardens.
Let's talk about game wardens.
Let's not talk about game wardens. Let's talk about Ben Lilly instead.
Ooh, that's a good one. So
Ben Lilly.
The only thing I wanted to touch on.
You ever read Frank Dobie's book on Ben Lilly?
Oh yeah, a few times.
That's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I think Frank probably stretches it a little bit on some things.
Oh, of course,
But
I think
I wish
every
they'd come out
writer
with a movie, a good movie about Ben Lilly.
who
Man,
would
there's just
play
not
Ben
that.
Lilly?
What's
There's
that?
just not that much information. I mean, what always, like I don't remember when I stumbled across Ben Lilly. My
He
oldest
was like the
daughter.
first houndsman I read about when I got started. Yeah, I read that book.
Well,
He was
the
one of the
story.
first.
I mean, it's just amazing. Like he must have had a mean old lady because what he say? He said he left the first time and he was gone for like 2 years.
Well, she said, "Hey Ben, there's a chicken hawk killing my chickens," and he says, "I'll go kill it." And he came back 2 years later. She says, "What took you so long?" He said, "Chicken hawk kept flying."
Just
Yeah.
kept flying. Yeah.
Just kept flying.
I mean, what kind of got what disappointed me with like the Dobie book and what's that other book? I mean, I've read it. I don't remember the dude who wrote it.
Hey, buddy.
It's kind of like
I
a
don't-
rehash. It's a rehashing. There's not much new information.
Look what I got next to me.
Walking around there. What is that? It looked like a horse.
That is a horse. It's not mine.
I was gonna say that don't look like no long ear.
It just showed up out here.
Look at that. That mule has short ears. Jeremy
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
Load it up. Is there a
thing is
brand
like-
on it?
It's older than dirt. Old sway back.
Wow. Yeah, feed your dogs. How many? Is there another one back there?
Yeah, there's 2 mules over there. That one mule is the one I wouldn't take.
I thought you
That
was
was the
keeping
one
that a
they
secret.
tried to sell that one to me, and I went in the pen with it, and first place I couldn't catch it, and so I just wanted to get my hands on it, and then I went and got a halter with a lead rope. She got worse, and then when I she'd turn her hind end to me and then twitch her tail and stuff, and I'd take that lead rope and just kind of twirl it around like that. And then she'd really twitch her tail. And then when I finally got my hands on her and I put you put a hand on their nose or whatever, and you try to push and you want them to give to pressure. I mean, but if they fight it, if they're just like, and that's what she did, she tried to jerk away from me. She didn't like anything I did. The other mules, the ones I ended up buying, when I did the same thing with them, I pushed them and messed with them and got my hands on them and just felt them out and everything. They were good. I can do something with that. But one that wants to fight me the whole time, you can fix
You already
it.
had one of those.
Yeah, you can fix that, I'm sure. But I don't want right now, I don't want to mess with it. I'm not a mule trainer. They're a tool to get me from here to there. And that's it. That's what I want. And along the way, if I can make them a better mule, then that's fine. But I don't want to get one, sit out there in a round pen and work with them. I did that with roping horses and saddle horses and quarter horses for most of my life, and I don't want to do that anymore.
No, you want a turnkey.
I want a tool. I want a tool to get me up the side of the mountain. This
Not
one,
no Harbor Freight
my
tool.
buddy. Look at this one.
No.
This old man, buddy, you're messing with my Starlink.
Pull it down.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I don't know. I'd have enough information to make. I think Ben Lilly was just a trashy old guy that went out and hunted 100% of his life every day, every time he was out.
How about Montague Stevens? Are you going to get right in the camera now?
Special guest. Gosh.
Yeah, this horse is old.
Smells that grain or something in there.
Yeah, I got alfalfa pellets in the trailer here. How about Montague Stevens? Did you read his book, Ed?
Is he the guy who caught grizzlies with dogs, like catch dogs?
Yeah, Meet Mr. Grizzly. Hey,
Yeah. That's a super cool book.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff in that one.
He's talking about all the breeds he went through. I mean, just the concept, just to even think about catching grizzly bears, like not treeing. I mean, they don't tree, but I mean, not I mean, he made
Nope.
these things up, but he sent catch dogs into these things.
No tracking collars, no nothing. Them just
Yeah.
busting their butts through the woods, trying to keep up with those dogs, running a grizzly bear.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, God, how tough were those? And he only had one arm. He had one arm.
He was the guy. He was an Englishman, wasn't he?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed his book. Like, you could tell he was a really smart guy.
Yeah.
Have you ever read?
I mean, the things he did, you know, and they didn't ride mules. He rode some kind of like thoroughbred cross horses or something like that. Thoroughbred horses. Hey, go on! You're messing with my Starlink now.
Yeah, he was probably in an English saddle.
Damn horses!
But can you imagine? And doing all that with one arm, one arm.
Yeah.
You know, he died broke. You know, when he got older. If you look on, I got a subscription to newspapers.com, and I do it mostly just because I love to read. You know, think up somebody and look them up in the past and the history of them. And he died broke.
Yeah, most dogmen do.
So we got some.
We live broke. What are you talking about?
Well, if you live broke, you usually die broke.
Hey, have you read that book, Far West, Wild Sports of the Far West?
I haven't read that.
Oh, you guys gotta read that book. It's by Frederick Gerstaker. The he's from Germany. He comes over here. He just runs around hunting. That story. It's just a journal. It's like a journal. You can get the upload for 99 cents on, digital on Amazon or whatever, but great book. I mean,
what's it called?
It's Wild Sports of the Far West, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Frederick Gerstaker.
I've heard that name before.
Clay Newcomb read a chapter.
It's set in America. It's set in America, though. He's hunting in America.
Yeah, he came from Germany. Started down, I want to say Kentucky, Louisiana, and just kind of, or Florida, moved this way and just ran around. I mean, the stories, he's crawling in the caves with a candle, trying to kill bears. And that Clay Newcomb read the one chapter out of there where they shot a bear. The dogs are fighting it. They didn't have no bullets. His friend ran in to stab it because the bear was killing dogs. He ran in to stab it, woke up 4 or 5 hours late, whatever it was. His friend was dead. 4 dogs were dead, and the bear was dead. And his shoulder was tore up or something, dislocated or tore up.
I think what draws me to all those old guys and them old books and stories about that, all that is just how open everything was. Like, there's no stories about people shooting their dogs. Their dogs getting run over.
I don't think they culled their dogs back then. I think they just ran wild. Look at Ben Lilly. He's said to have gone to the pound and picked up dogs just to have a pack.
Well, that's a sign of a dog man, I believe. I mean, you got good ones and some that aren't as good, but the good guys get the goodie out of the bad ones.
Yeah.
And I believe that. You're talking about, you need to come out sometime, Ed. You really do. You need to come out, and I'll show you lots of wide open spaces.
Ugh.
I want to see them. Like me and Chris.
We'll go.
Me and Chris Powell and my buddies Tanner and Cody. We went to the Gila last year bear hunting. Had a great time, and we'd probably been back maybe 2 weeks. And Chris called me. And he said, "Man, I've been thinking about moving to Mexico." And I said, "Dude, I've been thinking the exact same thing." Like, I was like, "Man, I'm just, I think I'm a little bit too old and I've got too many roots here in Oklahoma."
Yeah.
But if I was a younger guy, I'm pretty sure I'd be moving to New Mexico. I loved it out there. I mean, it's so wide open.
If you're going to hunt cats, and of course, Utah has tons of lion hunters, and it's got a lot of public land. And this is top secret. Don't tell anybody, even though we're live on the internet. Nevada is amazing.
24/7.
Lots and lots of public land. That's where I'm at right now. I mean, I could take off right now and take off and go for there's no telling how far. And if you get you a mule that'll jump a 5-wire bob or a 5-strand bob wire fence, you're free as a bird. You can go anywhere.
Throw your coat over it.
Learn how to make a gate.
Well, my old jet mule, and Agnes would too. They go over 3 strands.
They wouldn't go over
And
5.
Well, I just go back and I pop the top 2 strands down, and I carried wire in my saddlebags, and I tie them down to the 3rd strand, jump my mules over, and then I go back and fix the fence back.
Yeah.
And most of it's BLM anyway. You're just getting into different pastures.
Yeah, I had a blast in New Mexico, and that was, I mean, Tree and Bears was cool, but I think the coolest part of it was just like being there. There was so much land, and just being away from so much. It's like that's my goal. It's just to be far away.
Isn't there more public land?
I agree with you. That's me. I mean, I agree with you. That's perfect. I mean, I like
Isn't
it.
there more public land in Arizona than there is in New Mexico?
Arizona's good too.
I think we have more forestry.
The only problem with Arizona is they bump up next to California.
Yeah.
Man, did you see that thing where there's a projected 65,000 plus bears in California?
I watched that podcast with
Hyatt and Watts.
Hyatt. Yeah, where I watched it. I listened
Seth
to it.
Watts.
Yeah. That guy
Seth
was
Watts.
Enthusiastic, wasn't he? I mean, he's a big time bear hunter, even without dogs.
Well, he's like, I need to find someone in Arizona. Come over here. I'll take you hunting. I don't care. 65,000 bears. Do the square miles on that place and then divide it by that. That's crazy. That's a lot of bears.
A lot of bears.
I think they're going to bring dogs back.
California?
I've in the last couple of years, I've kind of predicted it's going to come back. They'll get it back. I don't know when, but just remember, Chris Watson said California is going to get their dogs back.
He's predicting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hope you're right.
You think it's because the bears are going to start just
they already are
too much?
They already are. And
if California's like other states, like in Oklahoma and most of the South, like with pigs, when it becomes clear that there's a problem, the solution isn't to open it up to dudes like me who'll do it for free. Exactly. The solution is to pay
government
hunters who are in the pocket of politicians who get to choose who gets to do it, and they make all the money off of it. And when there's guys like us who would do it for free,
we'll pay to do it. We'll pay.
Well, I don't know if I'll pay to do it.
We'll buy the tag. You got to buy the tag. You know what I mean?
Lines and more.
We buy the hunting. We buy the hunt license. We buy the tag.
Like in California on hogs, and as far as I know, and I think I'm pretty correct, they're probably the only state. But in California, you have to have a tag for each hog you catch. And the last time I heard, and it's been at least 3 years ago, it was like $50 a tag. Well, on a good night, on a really good night, you might catch 6 pigs. That's $300,
Wow.
I think it used to be back in the 90s or later. I thought my uncle said it's $10 for 4 tags back in the day.
For hogs in California?
Yeah, and it was free. You just ran around and shot them until they figured out, we're going to charge for them.
Yeah, I mean, so like in Oklahoma, and it's pretty much the same through most of the South, they won't designate hogs as a game animal. So I don't know how it works in California, but in Oklahoma, wildlife department they can put regulations on an animal, but they can't put like a tag on an animal unless it's a game animal.
Hmm.
So in Oklahoma, they don't want to designate it as a game animal because of the legal ramifications for like crop and land damage. So they won't go that far.
They don't want to take the liability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Typical government. Hmm.
But yeah, back to Ben Lilly, because I love to talk about Ben Lilly. But
Hey, where's he buried? Where's that picture at? You got it.
that's in Silver City.
Yeah, he's up by
Mexico.
Silver City.
But like, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought.
You know, the worst depiction of Ben Lilly is in Lonesome Dove, like 3. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where-
you know,
yeah.
and I could probably tell you some stories that I've heard about Ben Lilly that might not. They're not that good, and they're from people who had firsthand experience, you know, interacting with him. Some of the things that he did, like, and this is all. I don't know that it's true. You know, it could be all just hearsay, but like, he was paid bounty on killing lions on people's ranches.
Yeah.
So he might kill a lion on this ranch and then take it to these people and collect bounty, but then he might take it to 2 other ranches too and collect
could see
bounty
that.
on those.
Capitalism.
And that's
And-
what a lot of people, okay, so a lot of people look at Ben and they think, you know, that he was like a total backwoods hillbilly, which he was. Ben was also a businessman.
Hmm.
Like,
They said he sent a lot of money home.
and that's the other thing. Okay, so you know, a lot of people kind of idolize Ben Lilly, and then they kind of get to learn the stories. And then what I hear, because I love Ben Lilly, but then a lot of people will kind of come back at me like, "Oh, he was a deadbeat dad. You know, he just ran off and left multiple kids," which he did. But what those people don't understand is that for his entire life, he sent money. Ben made a lot of money.
And
He
they
made
don't know how
money.
mean his wife was.
Well, how bratty
Yeah.
were his kids? Maybe his kids were craps. You
Well,
don't want
I
to deal
tell
with
you
them. He
what,
left.
But I mean, he made
gotta-
money. He made money herding cattle, you know, before he left his wife, and kind of in that interim. And he logged and made money. He hunted bee trees and made money. And then later, a little bit later in life, he hunted on bounty system. Ben made a lot of money. He had quite a bit of money,
There,
but he didn't have much use for it. And he would send, for his entire life, he sent money back to his,
Yes.
at least not his first wife that I know of for a fact, but I know for a fact that his second wife, he sent a lot of money back to her and the kids.
I think it's
One
the
of the only
romanticism.
One of the things I heard about him that is, you know, after he got older, that he, you know, he almost reverted like a wild animal. Honestly, they said that, and this comes from the Shelleys, you know, and he hunted on their place, and they say they, you know, rode over a canyon or rode down into Arroyo one day, and there was an old dead cow, and there was Ben, you know, eating on that dead cow. You know, he was making the most of it, which, you know, it's not a bad thing, I guess. If it
I
wasn't,
think that was just the time survival of the, like, people ate like that.
yeah,
regardless.
he wasn't going to waste it.
He was a little bit further back than his actual time, but so I've been writing a book for probably the last year.
Oh,
So
cool.
Ben Lilly always fascinated me from the minute I found him. It like totally fascinated me. But what really, like with Dobie's book and the other book, like when I found those books, like I was like, oh yeah, I want to hear about this guy's dogs. But those books really don't talk about the dogs.
No,
You know,
they don't.
there's
I
like,
don't think they knew about the dogs.
yeah, there's pretty much no information about the dogs in
How
those
about
books.
what was the dog that Crook? Was it Crook that he
Yeah.
buried in a cave up there? And he wrote the little note. This dog
Yeah.
has caught so many lions
Yeah.
or
But that always kind of ate at me. That was like, you know, like he's a, you know, just from the non dog hunting public, he'd be super interesting just in the hunting stories. But for like the dog population, like, we want to know about these dogs. Like, where'd they come from? Where'd they go? So it always
Yeah.
kind of nagged at me for the last year. So what I did was I reread all them books, took notes, and then I started searching for, like, I found like some magazine articles from the 40s, 50s that were about him. It was new to, a lot of the information was new to me. A lot of it's just reverberated,
Cool.
stuff. But I found some new information. So I basically put together this timeline. I've got a large timeline of Lily's life, like where he was at, what he was doing. There's big gaps in it.
I'll get on that newspapers.com and I'll search Ben Lilly, because I've done it before. There's lots and lots of articles on him, and I'll send you one.
Yeah, anything you can find, send it to me.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to you. That's cool.
So basically what I've been doing is like I say, I pieced together the timeline of his life that I've been able to so far. And then I just went back to the beginning, and I guess you would call it like historical fiction, because it is fiction, but I'm writing a fictionalized version of his life where I try to access as many historical points as I can get in there, where it's, that part of it's real, but I'm just fictionalizing the dog part of it,
No, that's cool.
And I don't know if I'll ever get it done right now.
What about his family?
Which part of his family? Like his
Like
old
the
family,
Lillys.
or his
There has to be
relatives?
somebody back east that has something of his. Like, has
I don't
anybody
know
ever
about that.
dived into that as far as
I don't
who
know.
the Lillys were, where he came
Maybe
from?
they'll take your book and make it into a movie one of these days.
I mean, we know where he comes from, but we don't really know.
Like, who is his mom and dad, or his brothers, his uncles? Or
I mean, we know
he
that
had
we know that.
kids.
Yeah, we know that stuff, but we don't really know from his kids forward, which is kind of funny.
Descendants of Ben Lilly.
Like in the same kind of vein as that. So like in Cherokee County in the 30s, 40s, 50s, we had a sheriff here, which was kind of like you've seen the Walking Tall movies, the old ones, the new ones. So we kind of had our own like Walking Tall sheriff. His name was Grover Bishop, and he was like full-fledged badass, like super cool. In Cherokee County, maybe not the younger generation, but my generation and before, like, he's an icon here. So years and years ago, I was kind of infatuated with him, and I studied everything I could find about him, and I tracked down his children, and one of his daughters, no, I'm wrong, one of his granddaughters was in California. So I wrote her a letter, said, "Hey, I'm trying to write a book about your grandfather. Here's my phone number, call me." She calls me and she's like, "Why would you want to write a book about my grandfather?" I'm like, "Your grandfather is a legend." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "In Cherokee County, your grandfather literally is like a legend. He's like a Greek god in Cherokee County." She literally knew nothing about this man's history.
I'll be dang.
So I would imagine, maybe not to that point, but I would imagine that the ancestors of Ben Lilly are kind of in that same vein.
They probably don't know. Yeah.
But they probably know he was somebody, but
I had this crazy old grandfather that took off hunting lions and bears in the West. And that's
I mean, they're probably like, "Oh yeah, grandma, who was his daughter or whatever, talked mountains of shit on him like he was a,
she probably didn't like him much.
Yeah, probably not. So it's kind of one of them deals where in his own family he may be nothing,
Be right back,
but a scoundrel. But to the rest of us, he's somebody.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to get you on just so we do one thing about Ben Lilly. Nothing but Ben Lilly.
Yeah,
Got enough information?
I can talk about Ben for
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
7 or 8 hours.
Hey, that's what I think. Maybe I'll just have you on next week. We'll do a big Ben Lilly. Like, when's his birthday? That's what you do. You
Yeah,
have rendezvous.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
I
I'm
like to me, it's a romanticism of being out in the wild, free, doing what you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Well,
a, you know, like when Lily comes up, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you know, he's a piece of shit. And, oh, it's probably a bunch of mythology. Yeah. In today's standards, he kind of was a piece of shit, you know, on one level. And yeah, a bunch of what we hear is probably a bunch of BS to a degree. And it has been kind of mythologized. But I just take it for what it is. Like, I like that mythology. Like, he was cool. I wish I was there with him. You know, I think we
I
all
don't think
kind
you
of.
could keep up.
Oh, I know you couldn't keep up.
You know, they say they caught him in ditches, sleeping with 20 dogs around him. He'd crawl through that cane trying to stab bears. There ain't very many people these days that would do that.
I found a magazine article. I don't remember what magazine it was. My memory is terrible, but it was from like so Lily died in 36, if I remember right. Well, this dude went. He wrote for some magazine, and his editor sent him to do a story on lion hunting. I think it was like 33 or 34. So he didn't even know Lily. So he goes to New Mexico, and he's looking around town for somebody that can take him lion hunting so he can write this magazine article. And they're like, oh, you got to go talk to Ben Lilly. So he hooks up with Ben. This is 2-3 years before Ben died. And he goes lion hunting with Ben. Well, at this point in Lily's life, he was fairly well crazy because Ben went totally crazy in his later years. And it's a really cool article. Like, you know, he's writing it and he's like, you know, I go out with this dude, we got no dogs. And he's kind of questioning why in the hell I even went out in the woods with this old crazy dude. But sure enough, like Lily, in the article, he was saying that Lily acted like a dog, that he was like smelling bushes, and like he tracked up a lion and didn't even have a gun or a dog. And like he was like, you know, we walked all day and then we made camp and there was nothing to eat. And, you know, this younger dude is like struggling. And at that point, Lily was probably, I don't know, his late 60s, early 70s. And, you know, he could go 2 days without eating anything and just walking through the woods, and had this younger dude like really questioning whether this guy was just going to take him out in the woods and kill him, you know, or something like that. But it's a super cool article. I mean, he was a different, Lily was a different cat, you know, but he spent his life in the woods. And
There's Mama.
That's
Mama.
my first wife. Or my second wife calling me.
Yeah, it better not be your first wife.
I better call her back. Hold on.
Yeah, I always found it fascinating.
That guy says
I think he was very prehistoric. And he
was he was a feral human being.
Feral's the exact word, because you got Dale Lee, all them Lees, they were civilized. They were tough characters, but they were civilized tough. Ben Lilly was a feral cat, man. That guy just
okay. Bye.
You know, and when you live out there like that, is your senses better? Can you smell a lion?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Can you hear further?
Absolutely better.
Of course, like we're all hunters, so like, you know, like especially still hunting. So like if you go out in the woods at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're deer hunting or whatever, and you get a spot and sit down, after you're out there for a couple hours, like a leaf 75 yards from you falls from a tree, and all the clutter is out of your brain at that point, and you can hear that leaf falling from 75 yards, and the slightest movement you pick up on. So sure, if you spent your whole life in that scenario, yeah, I totally believe that a human being could smell a mountain lion on a bush if you had spent most of your life in that what we consider like sensory deprivation when we're actually in like sensory overload.
Absolutely. That's
So when
exactly
you're
right.
when you're in sensory overload, you can't acknowledge the small things because there's so much going on that your brain is just like going crazy. So you
I,
take all that away, and there's no telling what we could do.
I honestly believe that people should, and I've done it a few times, not for an extended period of time, but for like 5 or 6 days, gone out and just spent the time, like when we packed across the woods for 6 days, and there's no cell phone, no TV, no nothing. You're just out there riding every day. The things you notice in your senses and the progression of time changes so much after 2
Yeah.
days. It's unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And you can only imagine that somebody like Ben Lilly, who, I mean, that was his life,
Yeah.
how in
Ben,
tune they get with their environment. It's absolutely crazy.
Ben was quoted a couple times as saying that every person should spend 1 hour of every day in the woods. And that's what he was getting at, was
I
like,
absolutely believe
and
it.
you're talking about, he was saying that in 1910. So what was the mind clutter in 1910 compared to the mind clutter that we
Oh,
have in
unbelievable.
2020? I mean, it's almost unfathomable,
Yeah,
but
crazy.
anybody, even a non-hunter, I mean, if there's somebody listening out there who doesn't even hunt, if you just like go out into, as close as you can get to the wilderness and just sit down and lean up against a tree for an hour or 2 hours, like you will notice the difference.
Yeah.
It's just like a decluttering of your mind and like a heightening of all your senses.
That's I thought it was strange when me and my buddy, we packed across the wilderness, and we did it like 3 or 4 times, and we spent a lot of time out there. And we would go for like an hour and not say a word to each other. And then all of a sudden we would bring up a subject, and we're riding, we're traveling at 2.5 miles an hour through the woods. And then we would just beat this subject to death. I mean, talking about it. And then we'd shut up, and we might not talk again for another 2 hours.
Yeah, I
And
know exactly what you're talking about.
it's amazing. It's an amazing and it's the way your mind changes. It really is. It's the way you think. It's the way you see the world. It's everything. You don't have all this other input from everything else. And I think, these CDT or Continental Divide trail hikers, they go through that. And if you read or if you watch any of their YouTube videos or you read anything, they're going through the same thing.
I mean,
I think anybody
sure.
can get outdoors needs to get outdoors, and they'll go. No matter, like you said, no matter hunter or not, just stepping outside of your house sometimes, even in an apartment, stepping outside, just stepping outside. People don't get outside. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you live in town and you're in an apartment, even just like getting out of
Go to
that
the park.
apartment, even if there's not a park, just like find a tree to sit down. Like,
and that's
the amount of input coming in.
Exactly why I'm staying out here in a tent instead of staying in, 30 miles down there in a town in a motel room. I don't need the motel room.
Hearing cars go past all night and
no, I mean, I'm out here. It's quiet. I got everything I need. I even got Starlink, which that's nice.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, we really do. Like, we live in. I mean, even with all the bullshit that we've got, like, we live in the best time. Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
Brett can go out in the middle of Nevada and he can get that piece.
Finally.
and he wants it.
Finally, someone who says Nevada right. Finally.
Nevada.
He said Nevada.
Yeah.
I heard him say
Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah.
No.
Do people say
You
other?
you understand that's an
Ed?
Okie saying it.
You're my hero, Ed. No. Hey,
Is it?
I get so much shit for saying Nevada from everybody. Cleve, Rowdy, Jarrett.
How else
It's
do you say it?
Nevada. It's supposed to be
Nevada?
Nevada. They say it wrong. We say it right.
Nevada is right.
I guess. I guess if you're slow, smart people like us say Nevada.
Yeah. And Akron.
Acorn
don't
or
go that
acorn.
far. Don't go that far.
Acorn is just that's too precise.
Arizona is acorn.
Acorn.
And if you listen to it, a lot of people say acorn. City people call it an acorn. Yeah.
Where were we? Ed was fixing to say something profound. I know.
I don't know. He
Well,
said
Nevada.
Nevada.
Shit,
And I
I
was
don't
happy.
know. I said Nevada.
That was good. All right, it's over. We're done. And we're all old. I don't remember what you were talking about either.
Jeez.
Somebody has to know.
What we was talking about?
Well, they were listening.
Oh,
Hopefully,
he was getting deep and just fixing to
Hey.
lay something on us I wanted to hear, and then we changed the
I don't
subject.
remember. We got off
Hey.
of Nevada.
I heard Nevada, and I was good.
I don't think I've ever. No, I was gonna say I had never been in Nevada, but I have been.
It's a neat.
Oh, he's
state.
talking about
That's where
Nevada.
Cleve is from. Cleve and Becky Dwyer, and I like it. I mean, if I didn't have so many ties in New Mexico, I would move up here.
That's funny.
What ties you got? Just your wife? Take her with you.
My mom and dad. My dad's 90 years old. My mom's 89.
Yeah.
And then
You got to take him. You can't miss your morning breakfasts and your Bible study.
I take my dad to Bible study every Tuesday morning. Me and him drink coffee and we listen to that guy tell us what we should do. But
I guess that's how we're different from Ben Lilly, because he didn't let that stuff get in the way.
He didn't care, did he? No,
he
that's
didn't
exactly
care.
right.
I think that's what's so romantic about it. He was just out there. He didn't care.
I mean, you really, I mean, like you hit it. That's the word. Like, I've never thought about it that way, but you just nailed it. Like, it's romantic.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
his way of life is romantic, and that's what draws those of us in that admire him.
There's a romantic aspect to it, but there's some reality to it too that most of us are not willing to do or to give up the other things, you know.
Yeah, I mean personally, I can reconcile that. Like, I think I understand Ben. You know, there's been plenty of times where I wanted to just like chase that chicken hawk.
But let's break it down.
I chased it. I mean, I have chased it. I mean, I sold everything I had. I had a business and a farm, and I was a high level roper, and I sold everything and moved to the mountains. And I told my wife, I said, you know, you can move up here with me and we can live cheap, or you can stay here in town. And we rented a house in town, and she stayed in town. And I was up there for 2.5 years chasing that chicken hawk. And it was all right. I mean,
it's kind of a bother.
I wasn't living off the land. I mean, but I was off grid and real remote.
It's kind of been bothering me because, like I mentioned that, like I had said that, man, if I was younger and didn't have so many ties right here, I'd go to New Mexico. And I said that to a few of my closer friends, and a buddy of mine, Ronnie, who's in his 70s, was like, do it. And I kind of feel like a pussy because, like, man, I can't.
No,
and he was like, he's like, do it. He's like, go get a couple mules and like disappear for 10 years. And in my head, I'm thinking, man, if I had a pair, that's what I'd do, you know? And that,
No, I know.
It's been digging at me because that's the way I was brought up. Like my parents.
Are you married now?
No, I'm not married.
So you're single?
Yeah,
Free
I
as
was
a
married.
bird.
And your kids are grown up?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're a pussy.
I am.
Yeah. Grow you a
Yeah,
pair.
that's a pussy. You don't even have to get rid of your house. just buy a little place where you disappear once at a time.
Yeah, it's been giving me problems. Like I've been seriously thinking about it.
Don't worry, we'll reiterate it all to you as often as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you guys want to call me a pussy, do it. It might spur me. But what I was saying was that's the way I was raised up. Like my parents lived that way. You know, like you only live once. Do it. Do what you want to do. Have fun. Screw it. Don't think about the consequences. And it worked out well for them. So I've been battling this because I do want to like take 2 mules and disappear into New Mexico for 10 years. Even if I die, you know, somewhere way back.
Really, I'm serious. You should come out. We can pack across the wilderness. I'm serious. I'm not joking. I mean, I don't say this to everybody, but I like where you're coming from, and it'd be fun. We take a 6 or 7 day pack trip. Mm-hmm. 6 or 7 day pack trip and go across the woods.
Yeah, let's do it.
You won't want to leave.
I can do it a week or two. And
that would be fun. I'd like to do that.
You might just say.
Me and my buddy used to do that once a year. We would pack across the wilderness. And he got old and he sold all his horses. He don't want to do it anymore.
I think that makes you old.
Yeah, that does make you old.
It does.
So I had a, you know, one of my heroes is my great uncle, John. And he lived to be 99. He was always trying to make it to 100, but he didn't quite make it. But, you know, John would be in his early mid, late 90s. And I would just like, he lives probably about 30 miles from me, but I'd just show up at his house unannounced. Every time I went over there, I didn't call him or anything. I'd just show up. You could not catch this man inside his house. Even when he was 98 years old. If you pulled up there, if he wasn't out in the yard, I'd bang on the door and his wife would come to the door and she'd be like, oh, you know, he's deer hunting, or he went to go check his coyote traps, or he's out cutting a bee tree. Like, you could not catch this old man in his house. And I was asking him one time, I was like, because he was old, you know, I was like, what do you attribute to a long life? And he said, staying out of the house. He said, do something outside.
I agree.
And he lived it, and he made it to 99. He had a hardest life as anybody.
Look at Warner Glenn, 87.
Tough old man.
Gets out. That guy, you can't keep up with him. I seen him walking around just at the fairgrounds, and he was 100 miles an hour. Still gets on a mule, still feeds his dog, still makes circles.
Warner Glenn, he was the one who come up with the tough feet, big heart, run to catch.
Was that him? No, who was it that said that? What do you look for in a hound? No, that's ¿cómo se llama? Down in Texas.
I had it on the tip of my
tongue.
Tongue.
I've talked to him. I mean, I met him a few times.
I thought it was
I
Warner
just
Glenn.
read that too.
No, it wasn't Warner Glenn. It was
no.
What do you look for in a dog? I want tough feet and big heart and run to catch. That Texan lion hunter caught more lions than anybody down in that country.
Not
only tough, mean old bastard. I asked him. He had a white cloud walker one time, and he said, "I'll give you this dog. I'll give you this dog." And this is me being young and stupid. And I said,
You
well,
turned
what
it
is he
down.
doing? What is he doing? He said he ain't doing nothing yet, but he's not doing anything wrong either. And I felt about that big.
You didn't take it?
No, I didn't even take. I think after that he wouldn't even let me have it.
You might as well just move to Oklahoma, sit in the house all day, and not
Henry
leave.
Henry
Oh,
McIntyre.
McIntyre.
Yeah, that's Henry McIntyre. Now that you say that name, that's who it was.
And Steve Ranella has that thing now. I live to hunt and hunt to live. That was Henry McIntyre way before Steve Ranella was even around. Henry McIntyre said, "I hunt to live and I live to hunt."
Yeah. Now that you say that, it totally
he
is
was
him.
a
I thought it was
double
Warren
tough
Glenn.
old sucker.
Yep.
You can't duplicate the. I mean, I don't.
You can try. It's hard these days because, for one, back then there was no law enforcement out in them woods. Ben Lilly didn't have to worry about none of that stuff. And it was Ben Lilly. Like, who's going to stop him anyways? And who's gonna walk and catch him? Nobody.
I mean, the man walked from Louisiana to New Mexico.
Got into Arizona.
They said that he had a little shuffling walk where he could travel. I forget how fast, but it was like a horse would have to trot real fast to try to keep up with him. But it was just like a little shuffling walk, and he could do it all day long.
Well, it's funny because there's so these, see if I can get it straight in my head. So they have these like ultra marathons. They've been having them since like the 1970s. I don't remember how far they are. They're longer than a marathon because they're an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
Well, one of the first ones they had, I watched a documentary about this, but like I said, my memory's terrible. But so they had it somewhere. So this old farmer shows up to compete in this ultra marathon, and he ends up winning the darn thing. And I mean, he wasn't a runner, wasn't a long distance runner. They said he wore his work boots on this ultra marathon. But in this documentary, and it reminded me of Lily when I was watching this, because they said that he had this odd shuffle where he like a heavy rotation in his hips.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning this thing. And if you watch ultra marathons today, all the runners run in that same gait.
A little shuffle.
That old man had. It was probably similar to Lily's. It's kind of like speed walking.
He invented the speed walk before it's even out.
But Lily was probably way before him. I would imagine it was probably the same kind of walk.
That's what I'm saying.
And they say that, like, when he came across food, like somewhere I read the story, I can't remember where they offered him like a pie and a bunch of milk or something like that, and he just went out and sat underneath the tree and ate all of it right there. Ate it all. But then he might not eat for another 3 days.
Yeah, and he also, and that's one of the things I like about Ben Lilly, is just some of his weird philosophy. Like, so he generally wouldn't mix food. So he wouldn't eat a steak and some potatoes and some green beans. He would pick which one of those things he wanted to eat. So he'd either eat a bunch of steak or a bunch of green beans or a bunch of potatoes, but he wouldn't mix the food in his belly.
Eat it all together. That's crazy.
Yeah. And he said that if he ate a bunch of beef, for instance, that the next day he would have a strong animal desire to eat grass. Or if he ate a bunch of fish, he would want to drink a bunch of water the next day. So he really took that. I mean, he was kind of the first, really, probably, kind of that kind of you are what you eat mentality. But I mean, he really thought that he took on the attributes of what he ate. So like, if he was going to go on a big hunt, he liked to eat lion meat. before he went on the big hunt, because he thought that eating that lion meat would make him more like a lion.
Did he do this to keep people away? Was it
No.
his sense of humor? You know
No,
how
I don't think so.
did he have a sense of humor where he just did that?
He
You know what I
definitely
mean?
he definitely had a sense of humor, but I don't think it was a gimmick. I don't think it was something contrived.
Like he didn't just do it around people to make them think he's kind of strange and then walk off and be like, dummies.
I don't think so. I think Lily was actually strange.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
He was just
Could have
strange.
been, but I kind of doubt it. I think he was generally strange. It's easy to keep up like a persona of being strange for a short period of time. It's really hard to do it your whole life, you know.
Well, who was before Ben Lilly? Like, who's a houndsman before Ben Lilly?
Who was that black dude? Colt? What was his name?
Cole Hoyer or
Colt Hoyer, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Ben Lilly even hunted together, didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the way that history goes, you know. One guy's going to come out kind of more popular. Doesn't mean he was better. Colt was, you know, quite a hunter. Lily just kind of came out. Probably because, you know, hunting with Roosevelt and part of it was Lily's oddness that drew people in, so he was a little more interesting.
People like strange.
Doesn't
even
mean
today.
Doesn't mean he was the best hunter. He was the most interesting, probably.
You know, and nobody knows Frederick Gerstaker, and he wrote a book.
Who's that?
The guy who wrote. Well, yeah, the Wild Sports of the Far West.
Yeah,
and that guy was the. You got to read it, and you go back to Ben Lilly. We all want to be Ben Lilly, but he didn't have no high tech shoes to walk in. They were probably some crappy old leather, if he even wore shoes.
Just some old Rogan boots.
Yeah. He wore shoes. He would take because he said he could wear out a pair of boots in no time. So he would take horseshoes and nail horseshoes on the bottom of his work boots so that they would last longer. Because he said he could wear out a pair of boots in 3 weeks. So he'd nail horseshoes onto them to make them last longer.
Can you imagine coming through that desert or that forest and seeing them dog prints and then seeing a weird horse track? Like, damn, what's wrong with that horse? It's stepping weird.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what makes him so likable is that oddness. You know, he was original. He was original. I think Lily was himself. I think we appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Could you imagine him today watching these guys spend just thousands of dollars just on their camouflage?
I mean, could you imagine if those old guys had the technology that we have? There wouldn't be anything left to hunt.
No.
Well,
look at that story with Daniel Boone, right? What didn't he kill like 130 bears in 30 days or something outrageous? Like that's what he did.
I don't really know that much about him, but yeah.
Clay Newcomb does a good podcast on him. So, yeah, the guy was a commercial bear hunter.
Well, I mean, Lily looked up to Crockett.
Davy Crockett?
Yeah, he was one of his heroes.
Crazy. And Lily was probably tougher than all of them. He just lived out there. He didn't have much. He didn't have a backpack full of gear.
No, I mean, they said that he would, if he went through, if he came to like a corn crop, he would grab a bunch of field
ears of corn.
Yeah. And if he wasn't catching game, he would just eat raw field corn and feed them dogs raw field corn. It's a different dude, you know?
Well, and when you're traveling like that back then, you're shooting a deer if you have a chance, or him chasing it down and stabbing him or whatever he did. And then you feed your dog. There was nothing left of a deer, I imagine.
Oh, no, I'm sure.
I mean, their total survival was what they caught.
Yeah. You know, squirrels, porcupine, beaver, rats, birds. You kind of had free range. Like I said, there wasn't much law enforcement and there wasn't much rules back then.
No, there wasn't.
No rules.
So, and I think we all are mesmerized by that. And that's where the romanticism comes in, where you can go out and just, you know, I think people who poach and kill a lot today is just because I've always said man has an inner barbarianism that's been, we don't get to be barbaric anymore. We don't get to take bites out of the heart and fight and whatever we do. We're kind of suppressed. You know, back in those days, you lived it every day. You had to, you know, especially the 1800s, you know, and that bled into the 1900s, where even in the 1930s, people still knew how to make soap. They still knew how to make butter. They still knew how to feed themselves. You know, they would kill their horse or mule for their family to survive. Today, they have groups that save horses, you know.
No kidding.
You ever ate horse meat?
Yes. My Navajo, I had a Navajo guy call me and say they're going to do horse permits on the res, and I was all for it. But being a sovereign nation, they caved to the PETA.
What?
Stupid.
Pussies.
Isn't it in France? It's a delicacy or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a delicacy at my house. Like anybody out there gets a chance to eat some horse meat, do it. It is.
You compare it to elk, lean.
I haven't ate that much elk. I've ate elk, but not that much. We don't got them around here. But yeah,
I've had some horses I wanted to eat.
You just had a mule you wanted to eat.
Yeah.
I had a mule like that one time, and it was my youngest daughter's birthday, and a bunch of her friends were coming over for a birthday party, and I got mad at this mule that morning, and it was totally last straw deal. So I shoot this mule in the front yard, and my ex-wife comes out, and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I've had it with that mule. Like, I'm done. It's over." She said, "You realize there's like 15 7-year-old girls coming over here in about 30 minutes, and there's a dead mule laying in the front yard?" I said, "Well, no, I mean, I'll get it out of the front yard, but
why is it divorced? Why is it divorced?
I can't figure it out.
But no sense of humor.
Yeah, no sense of humor. But I fed that to my dogs, but we cut some good steaks off of it, and that's the first I ate mule. I ate horse before, but not mule. It's about the same.
How did the mule taste good?
Tastes about like a horse.
Really?
People always think it's gonna be tough, but it's like super tender. Yeah. I mean, crazy tender.
You know, the first time I had lion, a guy had gotten a lion. My mentor guy who got me in the Hounds back in the 90s, and he brought some over. Says, "Here, you want this for the dogs?" I'm like, "Have you tried it?" He said, "No." I said, "Let's cook it up," and we did. And I tried it. I'm like, "Damn, I'll take all your lion." He fed it to his dogs, and he had some left over and brought it to me. And I said, "Man, you should have ate this."
I've ate lion one time, and it was good.
Like, I love lion.
The taste of it, I totally got down with the taste of it. Something about
I love bear. Bear lasts 2 weeks in my house.
Wrong. It seemed wrong though. Like something about eating a predator that just doesn't sit right with me.
You mean
I've never ate bear. I've ate lion, but I've never ate bear.
You've never ate bear?
No, I never ate bear.
I never 2 weeks in my house.
Just on principle or what?
I had a ton of bears up at my place up there, and I caught, I mean, quite a few bears, but I've never killed a bear myself. I've had other guys with me that killed bears, but I've never messed with them. And we don't
kill a bear on the Rendezvous. We'll go kill a bear at the Rendezvous. It's open.
And cook it up. I mean, cook it. I'll
Cook
eat
it up.
it, but I just never. I brought a guy from Oklahoma and he killed a bear, but it was in August, and time we got it out, there was nothing good about it. We killed it way back in the woods.
That was kind of the deal when we was at New Mexico. Like, we shot 2 bears. It was still pretty hot, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like, we had a biologist with us, and he's like, we've tested every bear from this sector or whatever they call it, and he's like, everyone had trick.
Yeah.
Which you can cook trick
it
out.
out.
Got to get what, over 160 something degrees or something like that.
Yeah, but
I think it's 145. It kills it.
Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, the temperature outside was fairly hot, and it was like, gosh, by the time we get this back, and you know, it just didn't seem worth it. But I've had bear in the past, and I liked it.
You know, according to New Mexico law, you don't have to pack the meat out for a bear. Pack the hide and the skull out.
Yeah.
So,
you know, one of the cool things in New Mexico, like, so we didn't actually realize it when we shot our first bear, and then we had a biologist from New Mexico that was with us. He said, "Oh, you got to call them they got to come out and do like a carcass tag," which in the game regulations, we'd read the game regulations.
No, that's not right.
What's that?
You don't have to have a carcass tag.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
check it in.
Yeah, they had to come check it out.
No,
I mean, not the carcass. I shouldn't say that.
But you have to check it in.
The hide, not the. Yeah. I'm wrong. Not a carcass tag, but like they had to come check it.
Yeah.
But it kind of took us by surprise because it really, in the game regulations, it kind of skirted over that. And if he hadn't been there with us, we wouldn't even have thought we were doing anything wrong by not calling him. But we ended up calling him. By the time we called him, we had 2 bear, and he come in that evening. It's pretty late in the evening, and he's checking our bears. They pull a tooth to send to the department or whatever that like ages them and does all that. But we were kind of chatting the guy up, you know, and it was kind of refreshing, you know, like the guy was super nice, and he was like, you know, he's like, I don't have any problem out of dog hunters. He's like, when dog hunters call me to come do this, he's like, everything's in line, everything's done right. He's like, the problem we run into is the still hunters, you know.
Yeah.
And it was super refreshing to hear a game warden stand in front of us, and like he was kind of singing the praises of dog hunters. It was really cool.
All the game wardens I've run into have always been real positive. I mean, and you know, not questioning me. I've only had one over 25 years, 30 years that has ever been a pain in the ass, but the rest of the time they were always really good.
Yeah, because we were kind of hesitant. It's like, we're going to do it because it's the law, but we were kind of like, oh goodness, game warden's going to come into camp. He's going to, give us a 3rd degree and all this. But he was super cool, and even when he found out we was from out of state, everything it was good. It was a good experience. Surprise.
We have 48 hours to call it in and 10 days to check it in. And you just bring the hide in and make sure you have the sex still attached to it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's how it is in Arizona.
You're in Arizona, Chris?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona.
Okay.
So, and then, it's when New Mexico starts their hunt. It's the first weekend of August usually, because it's all New Mexico plates in Arizona.
Yeah.
All them New Mexico guys come over here first, kill all of our bear.
New Mexico starts in August, and I don't know what the dates are, but it runs for a while, and then it shuts down during the archery season for deer, and then it opens back up. But in some of the good units, I mean, it can shut down right away. They hit the quota.
Well, where we're going in Young, I've seen that thing shut down it starts on a Friday, always in Arizona, Friday. And if the quota is killed, it shuts down Wednesday night. If it don't, it goes to the next Wednesday. So if Thursday you wake up and the quota's not shut down, you can hunt till next Wednesday for sure.
See, in Oklahoma, we don't have a dog season on bear. We have a quota season on just
This guy.
shooting bear. But we've only had it for maybe 4 years, and it's shut down by 10 a.m. the first day. And when it shuts down, it's shut down.
That's crazy.
We don't have, it goes to the next week or anything like that. I mean,
We have a couple units that shut down quick. And then there's, and you just kind of move around. It just kind of depends. But then we have two weeks of rifle. So August, like right this year, it's August 10th. So you got 2 weeks of rifle unless it shuts down early. And then it goes to, I think it's almost 3 weeks this year. But like it used to be 2 weeks of archery bear. So you just take your rifles out, throw your bows in, go hunting still.
we were a little bit worried, our first year in New Mexico, and there's a quota in that section or whatever you guys call it, that region, whatever it is. But yeah, even by the end, I mean, we'd been there a week, and even at the end of the week, the quota wasn't even.
What unit did y'all hunt?
Man, I can't remember. I mean, it's right outside of Silver City. I don't know. I can't remember what region it was.
Pretty good roads in there.
It was good roads, really good roads.
Oh, you guys were rigging, weren't you?
We rigged and we free casted a little bit. I mean, we treed bears the first day, second day, third day we came up dry. But it was, like I say, it was fairly hot. We was only hunting until maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. Third day we come up dry, and then the fourth day we treed bears.
Was that in August?
I think it was September.
I always consider the August, the first hunt is I always consider August as like the Western week where your dogs, you kind of
the August hunt typically is too hot on bears.
Yeah. September
I'm up at 7,000 feet, so.
And that was, the heat was the only reason we didn't tree a bear on the third day. Dog struck a bear. We was in the bottom where it was pretty shaded and fairly cool that morning, and the dog struck. And like I said, we was down in the bottom, and we didn't know it at the time, but the bear had run to the east and up the side of a mountain. So the dogs would take that trail up the side of the mountain, but it was in full sunlight at that point. So it was burning off scent. So they had a hard time tracking it up the mountain. And Chris had one really good dog who gave it a gallon attempt and got the closest. But yeah, so the heat and the sun is the only reason we didn't tree a bear on the third day. If we'd have got at that bear 45 minutes or an hour earlier, we probably would have treated him. But it was fun. That first bear on the
I love bear hunting.
We had the first bear treed by probably 9:30 or 10 in the morning. And so I've read a ton of bear books. And I was, expecting this long, drawn out, all day kind of affair. And them dogs struck. Chris's dog struck, and they had the bear treed in 30 minutes. And we were walking in there, and I was like, "This is too easy. This is too easy. Like it should be. It's supposed to be harder than this, right?"
I was gonna say, if you have good bear dogs, it makes a difference. Well, I don't think I ever had good bear dogs.
Good area, good. Probably one of my favorite hunts is me and Elizabeth Bolin, Washoe.
He's got good dogs.
She's phenomenal dogs. So we have a handicapped person with us in a wheelchair, and we rig a bear. She says, "I think it's a bear." I think she was on one road as another. It trees. It's like 300 yards from where we are. So we got dogs on it. she goes, well, we get a little bit closer, and she says, it's a bear. And she walked in and said, it's a female, but it's a shooter. And it was like late in the season. And we try not to kill females, but we had a handicapped girl with us in a wheelchair. I said, well, let me go around and see how close I can get. And I got in 80 yards from this bear, and I had to wheel her in rocks. It's pretty rocky. Yeah. So I wheeled her in, and never shot anything in her life. And I gave her my 30-30 in the wheelchair, and I say, aim right there, line it up. Pow. Beautiful shot. This bear, this poor girl never seen anything die either. This poor bear comes out, hits every branch, does the flip thing and hits the ground. And I'm kind of mean to people either way, but she was happy. I said, you got it. It's dead. And she's all excited, and then does her little tear up. And I'm like, don't you effing cry. Don't you effing cry. I'm kind of yelling at her, don't you effing cry. And she's like, that was super fun, but I don't think I want to shoot another bear. That's whatever. So we get it loaded up. When we go to get it loaded up, I said, where's your tag? She's all, she couldn't find it. It was at her house. Oh, man. Talk about panicking, getting out of there to get that tag. I'm like, man, I didn't even think to check. But we get in the truck, we're all loaded up. We get in the truck, and she says, so are we going after lion now? It's like, God damn. I said, listen, she had a lion tag. I said, listen, this was an easy bear, like really easy. We had it treed within 300 yards after we jumped it. We probably just crossed the road. I said, and a lion, it's probably not going to be this easy. So, yeah. Doing good for people sometimes. It's still sunny over there, Brett.
Look at that blue sky in the background.
It's dark here.
Look at that.
Man, no trees though. I hate no trees. I even like greasewoods. Greasewoods does me good better than trees, even as long as they don't have trees. Like as long as you have some trees. But that's how Nevada is right there. It's desolate like that.
Yeah, but if you go back, like right over, see if I can line it up. Over
There's some pretty country.
There's some trees back up in the mountains there.
Yep. There's some pretty country there. There's my cousin's always sending me properties, trying to get me to move close to him. And man, I've been thinking about it.
I do like Nevada. I really do.
I don't have to sell my house. My daughter could live there, and I'll get in my bus and head to Nevada.
You were all excited about the bus. All I heard about was the bus, and now nothing. What's going on?
I hadn't even made. I do got a video probably coming out tomorrow, but I barely had time to make this. No, I hadn't had time. Busy man. I'm a busy man. I had to work. It's my dad's fault. It makes me work. Stupid guy.
Gotta pay the bill. Gotta pay the bill.
You know what's crazy?
I'm gonna bug out.
He's trying to buy a gold mine right now.
It's good. Maybe it'll pay off.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you make me go shovel a bunch of dirt.
I'm gonna take off. Ed, I'm serious. If you ever want to come out and go on a mule trip, just holler at me.
When's the best time of year?
November.
Well, we usually go late in the year, but I'm getting old.
I forget you're down low. Right? You're really low.
Me?
Yeah, so December is a good time to go out there, ain't it?
Well,
November?
I mean, it gets cold. I mean, it was like we were waking up to 27 degrees, freezing temperatures last time we went.
It's good sleeping weather.
Yeah.
You know what?
Good.
Where are you at, Brett?
I'm in southern New Mexico, but most of my trips are up in the Gila. And you were on the west side over there,
Yeah.
but I go up in the wilderness.
Oh, the part that no vehicles.
Yep.
No roads. Yeah.
Yeah.
mules, and that's it.
Yeah, let's
First,
do it.
it was the
And I'm
first established wilderness in the United States, 1924.
Really?
Yes. First
Yeah,
established
we should do it.
wilderness in
And
the world.
what's that?
First established wilderness in the world.
You know what they
Yes.
don't have there, Ed? Tornadoes. They don't have
No.
tornadoes there.
No
Tornadoes.
But we don't have
Tornadoes.
good fishing either.
That don't
Yeah.
scare us. Yeah, I'm gonna get with you. We should do that. And y'all gonna have to come in September when we're gonna go back there bear hunting this fall with Chris. Y'all should come by.
I want to go on a hog hunt. I want to go hunt hogs one time.
Yeah, I'd like to go on a hog
I want to
hunt.
film it.
Anytime y'all want to come up this way. We don't do too much in the summer.
Too hot.
I mean, we hog hunt in the summer, but it's kind of miserable. But anytime.
Humid.
It's not really
I was in Fort Sill. I was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma when I did my basic. It was humid.
I mean, what gets us is just, I mean, in the summer, it's just like everything's so thick and there's ticks and there's snakes. And, you know, when you're hunting that heat, I mean, the heat alone, I mean, hog hunting is tough enough already. And then you got heat killing dogs. So we hunt in the summer, but when we try to do it strategically, I wouldn't advise somebody coming up, you know, want to plan hog hunt for the summer. But anytime other than the summer, you guys get ready. Just holler.
When's the best time?
I mean, the best time when we catch the best pigs is kind of after deer season. So like February through about now, February through the early part of May.
Like spring.
Spring is when we catch, you know, it's kind of the easiest, we catch the most biggest ones. But the dead of winter is fun too, you know. But yeah, anytime you want to do it, y'all just holler at me.
Sounds good.
And y'all have to come out to bear camp this September.
Where's that at? Do you know where it's going to be?
Somewhere around Silver City. We'll be in the same area.
Oh.
Me and Brett kind of had it planned last year, and then like the place where we're camping, of course, we had 0 cell service, and we come to town every couple of days. But when we come to town, you know, we had not so much myself, but other guys, you know, got to call the wives, and we kind of have a routine.
Get a hold of Elon Musk.
Yep.
Yeah, how much does that cost?
$150 a month.
That's pretty steep.
Well, you know,
I have 2 of them. I have one at home. It's 120. Your mobile one's 120. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is if you can take that mobile one and just build a stand and run around with it, or if it's a certain area. Because when you order it, the house one kind of has a certain area.
You're just talking about $30 more, right?
Yeah, it's 150. Yeah, it's 120 for my house, 150 for this.
See, I use this one at my house, and then I also use it on the road. And
you're also getting rid of your office, so you're going to save money anyways.
Yeah, I'm getting rid of Comcast at my office, plus rental of my office in town.
Electric,
I didn't have good internet at the house.
Gas, 20 minutes away.
Oh, it's a no-brainer. And here I am out wherever I am. And
somewhere
I have internet access. It's amazing.
See, it's crazy. Like where I live, I live in the second, maybe third poorest county in Oklahoma, which is pretty poor. And I live way back in the woods, but thanks to Cherokee Nation, like I'm on fiber optic. Like
that's crazy.
They
My
got money to
brother-in-law,
burn.
60 miles from here, 70 miles from here, out in the middle of nowhere, they have fiber optic.
Yeah. That's how it is here. It's like Cherokee Nation's got money to burn, and I'm sure they get some kind of federal.
Oh, they got grants for it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Funding.
So
some federal funding.
So we're sitting out in the middle of the woods, and we got high-speed fiber optic.
It's crazy.
Got to keep track of you.
I mean,
it's kind of like, so what I equate it to is, so like in Oklahoma, like my grandparents didn't have electricity. My dad was 16. He was born in 48, so that'd be 64. So they didn't get electricity at my grandparents' house in 1964. And the only reason they got it was because of rural electrification. So it was like basically the government said, look, told these electric companies, if we're gonna give you a monopoly to electricity, you got to provide it to everybody. Because before that, they just wanted to provide it to the places that were easy and cheap for them to provide it to. And that was all through hydroelectric dams. But so they were kind of mandated to do it. And it was because it benefited society in general. Today, internet access is as important, in our time as electricity was back then, because we didn't have anything. We would have to get satellite, and every time there was clouds in the sky, you had no internet, and it was just a nightmare.
It still works even in a storm. I've had it work at my house. Even snow, it snows, and I have it set on automatic. So if it snows, it heats up and melts the snow off it.
But yours is off a satellite too?
Yeah, I got the same. Starlink is what I got. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I think even this one, you can turn it on snow melt, and it will melt the snow.
Wow.
So, yep, cool stuff. Technology. You better go make your fire and your steak, Brett.
I already ate.
Coming on.
I met my little sister and took her out to eat, but I am getting cold out here.
Cold? Are you getting cold?
Yeah, it's chilly.
Really?
I don't know what the temperature is, but it's pretty cold. There's snow on the top of the mountains up here.
Huh. Really? It's 70.2 where I'm at.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me see.
What am I? I'm 82 degrees. Phoenix, Arizona right now.
It's probably 58 here, something like that. It's getting cool. I'm still in a t-shirt. So, but it's getting cold, and I still got to deploy my tent and set things up. So
what are you doing out there? Just hanging out?
I bought some mules.
Yeah, and he revealed it on my show. I feel special because he was keeping it a secret.
Just putting
I didn't want anybody to know. It's a really cool, not a cool story. It's a really good story. I made an offer on these mules several months ago, and the girl, she didn't take it. It was her father. He had passed away, and the way he passed away is pretty. It's a story anyway. He was an old cowboy, and he lived up here in the middle of nowhere, and he rode mules and horses, and he cowboyed on ranches and did this and that, and he got sick. And I'll reveal it's going to be part of my video. He got real sick and couldn't make it anymore. I mean, he was in pain, and he got all dressed up in his nice clothes and everything, and come out here and rode out here not far from where I'm at right now. Shot himself and his dog.
Shot himself
and killed his dog too. He had a dog, and so this girl, she had these mules, and she wanted so much for them, and I made her an offer, and she didn't accept it. And then later on, she, after a couple months, she had to buy hay, and she decided she better sell them. So I told her, I said, I'll take them. And I drove over 1,000 miles up here to go get them. And it's pretty cool. I mean, the old man, I can relate, like you talk about Ben Lilly, I can relate to this old man. I mean, he was just a guy who loved to ride his mules and get out in the back country and get away from it all. And did, he kind of did his own thing and everything. And so I said, man, I'll be up there and I'll buy those mules.
He didn't die in a hospital either.
No, he went out.
He
went out on his own terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope Brett I hope Brett tells a story about how Brett's always in a hurry, and this trip taught
That's-
Brett that he could slow down a little bit.
It's been
Just
the
slow
hardest.
down.
Been the
Brett
hardest.
left the house ready to go, and then realized I'm not in a hurry.
It's been the hardest thing for me to realize is that I don't have to be in a hurry. I sold my business. I don't, I got my grandson's taking care of everything back at the house. My wife's not worried about me or anything. But it's still, when you get in that truck and you go, when you're used to being in business for yourself and you get in that truck and you're going somewhere, I got to get there. I got to get it done. I got to get home. I don't have to be in that big a hurry. It's not like, I'm sleeping in a tent. I got all my food with me. I'm not spending any money except for fuel, and the fuel is going to be the same whether it takes me 3 nights or 5 nights.
I totally get that. Like I'm self-employed, and I think it comes from like you have employees. So at least for me, I totally relate to that. So like when you have employees,
Time is money.
every hour, I'm thinking I got to pay these guys, X amount of dollars for every hour. We're wasting money here, and everything's like rush, rush, rush. But when I get in a vehicle, I don't have that mentality. I drive slow as hell.
Like last night, I sat there and thought, I could be there at 10 o'clock tonight, or I could stop right here. So I stopped, 2 hours before dark, set up a camp, had me a campfire, cooked me a New York strip steak on the fire, ate that. Ah, man, it was nice. It slept good, got up early this morning and left, and I'm up here now. I could have loaded up those mules and took off and drove for 4 hours tonight, but
Oh, so you just bought the mules
just
Today.
today?
today.
What, 6 hours ago?
Yeah, something like that. There
8
was a
hours
little haggling. There was a little haggling that went on there for a little while because there's like 5 mules on this place here.
Hey, did she have any tack?
Yeah, but nothing I wanted. Nothing that would fit me.
Have you given them a ride yet, or?
No, but I could tell. I've been around long enough to know. I went out there and I messed with them. The one that they tried to slip in on me, I said no. Well, the poor girl, she don't know. She's a young girl. She came out and she didn't know who she had to deal with, and she came out here and she walked up. She was like 30 minutes late, and she come up, and I'd already messed with the mules and everything. And she came up to me and I took off my hat and she, beautiful, beautiful young girl. Absolutely drop dead gorgeous young girl, probably 23, 24 years old. And here's this big old red-headed man with a big old hat on. And she comes out, I take off my hat and I shake her hand. She said, hi. She said, you're Brett? And I said, yes, ma'am. And I said, you're Minnie? And she said, yes. And I said, you know what? I said, I ain't going to take that mule right there. I said, that mule's an idiot. And she looked at me and she said, well, that was part of the deal. And I said, well, I'm not taking her. I said that I got in the pen with her. She's not a good mule. I can tell already. I've been around a long time. And I told her, I said, what do we got? What can we do? I said, I got a $10,000 cashier's check here for you. I said, I'll take those 2 mules. She said, well, that other one's not for sale. And I said, well, threw my hands up in the air. I said, I'm out of here then. I'll leave. I was raised by a horse trader, so I know how to play the game a little bit.
Haggle.
Yeah.
So I bought a big bay mule. It's probably been over 15 years ago from a local guy here who's a sure enough mule man, John Anderson. And I went over to his house. He told me he had this mule for sale. I go over to his house and we go for a ride. I'm riding this bay. I liked him. We get back to the house. I said, well, I'm going to buy him. And he had this sorrel mule in a lot there. And he said, why don't you take her too? I said, I'll give her to you for $300. And I said, no, I don't really, I don't really need her. And he kept at me. Oh, just take her. She'll be a good companion for that other mule. I said, no, I don't need her. So we did our deal. I bought the bay mule, not the sorrel mule. And I said, just bring him to the house sometime next week. So the next week he pulls up to the house and he gets out of the truck. He's got a cast on his left foot. I said, damn, John, what happened to you? So, well, I just had an accident. And then I go back to the trailer and I said, you got that sorrel mule in the trailer. I told you I didn't want that thing. And he said, I'm not charging you a penny, Ed. You just take her. And I said, I don't want her. And he said, no, I'm not charging you anything. Just take her. And I said, she broke your foot, didn't she, John? And he goes, yeah, and she's staying here.
And that's not the mule that was shot in the front yard, was it?
That is the damn mule that was shot in the front yard.
Oh, that's funny.
Worthless.
Yep.
She wasn't worth $300. She wasn't worth $3.
Yeah. Feed your dogs. Feed your dogs.
That mule would get out. It seemed like every spring my mules would get out. So she'd get out, and we had a couple horses around. They'd all get out at once. And I could, I live about a half mile from the closest county road, but they'd always go up to the county road. So I'd go up there and I'd either catch this bay mule or one of the horses, and you could lead them back to the house, and everybody'd follow except for this sorrel. I swear to God, that bitch knew when she got out of a fence. She knew she was out of a fence, and she knew that it aggravated the shit out of you. And she had the best sense of humor. Like, she just thought it was so funny that you were mad. Oh,
I can still hear you. I'm going to walk around the corner here.
She's smart. Them mules are smart.
She was smart. She was smart. She was just too damn ornery. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
you got mules now?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Like me and that old guy that I used to hunt with, Lee, that I was talking about, we hunted off mules for a decade or more.
Yeah.
And he died. Lee died back in COVID. And when he died, his wife gave me his old mule. So I still had that bay mule, but I didn't ride that mule that much. I had another mule that I rode mostly, but she gave me his old mule. We called her Reba, and I took her. She was old. I mean, getting up around in the 20s, but I took her, and she died. I think last year, maybe the year before.
Yeah.
And I got rid of my other mules. Right now, I don't have any.
Don't come to New Mexico, Arizona. You'll be trying to get another one. Hey, do you know any stars back in Oklahoma? My grandmother used to have a big Arabian ranch back there somewhere.
Last name Star?
Yeah, Starr.
Like Bellstar?
Yep.
Kin to
him? That's my dad's mom's side of the family, the Stars. Yeah, and then Watson's.
I don't really know any of them, but Bellstar has family here. If she was related to them, they're not like right here by the house. They were further south.
A lot of that family moved to California and got ruined. So,
yeah, I mean, Oklahoma and California have a pretty deep history. A lot of Okies moved out there.
Oh yeah, chasing that gold.
Chasing
that gold.
Well, it was mostly during the Dust Bowl, just chasing fruit to pick.
Yep.
Some of my family went out there. Some stayed. My grandparents and even my father and them, they went out there for a few years. Because times were tough, Like, people think, I mean, the Dust Bowl ended. The actual, like the geological or, the physical Dust Bowl ended probably 34, 35. but the fallout from that lasted, where I'm at, all the way up into the 50s. Like, I mean, you couldn't make a living here. So a lot of Okies moved out to California. My family couldn't take it.
So who do you got there left? Your parents?
Yeah, my parents.
Kids?
Parents and kids. My dad's the last. My dad is. We were talking about it not too long ago. I think my dad's the oldest living Barnes left from us.
Time to move south.
We die young.
Yeah. Who doesn't these days? You never know, especially all that crap we eat. Try not to eat.
Yeah, I mean, you try to, that's the thing. I mean, you like probably the last 2-3 years, like I try to eat better, not straight up health food, but I try to go by the rule that if I can't pronounce it, I'm not going to put it in my body. And it's almost impossible, I mean, it's literally almost impossible.
Les Bollinger, I have respect for elk, deer, and lion and bear too, and I still eat them.
Yeah, but you can pronounce that stuff. I mean, I try to, I try to eat when I can, like meat that I've killed. And I grow a garden, but I think me and you were talking about it. Like, there's only so much time in the day. I mean, at some point you got to sleep.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. Between YouTube and lives and just stuff going on, work, family, and I work 200 miles away from my family, so it's hard for me to just go do stuff on the weekends because I got to plan it around my family. And I don't know, me and Brett got invited back to Douglas, and so that's on our calendar probably.
We're famous in Douglas, Arizona. My head's getting cold.
Is it that cold there?
It's getting cold.
You can build a fire.
58 sounds pretty.
Well, there's snow on top of that mountain right there. It's nice though. I like it. It's quiet. Nothing out
Ed,
here.
I'm gonna have to get you back on just for a Ben Lilly special.
We're gonna have to make Ed like a monthly regular.
Yeah.
Hog. We need a hog hunter.
I can talk about Ben Lilly till I get blue in the face.
Yeah.
Good deal.
He's got me. I'm going to go to the newspaper articles and search some of those Ben Lilly things, and I'll get them over to you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Don't forget.
There got to be someone over there, and that says Ben Lilly was my grandpa, or Ben Lilly was my great great grandpa, or something.
Man, I've looked and I don't find that stuff.
I think you'd probably physically have to go to, where is it, Mar Rouge or something in Louisiana?
That's where he was. Yeah, that's kind of where he was from.
He was a real religious feller. He didn't. He's not like he didn't fool around.
He didn't smoke. He didn't chew tobacco. He didn't drink.
And if he was trolling a lion on Saturday night and it turned into Sunday,
he's done.
Shut it down.
No, he'd sit down that's I was telling you guys about that magazine article I found from that guy who went with him in his older age, and he was talking about that they came to a point where it was Sunday, and he said Ben took him to a cave, and he said they ate. Oh, that's what it was. They'd found where a mountain lion had killed a deer, and Ben cut a bunch of meat off of it. And then they went to this cave, and the dude was afraid to eat the meat that Ben was cooking, but I think he did eat some, if I remember right. But then he said Ben went back in that cave. It said it was obviously a cave he frequented, and he came out with pages from a Bible. And they said that all that whole next Sunday, all he did was sit there and like study over those pages out of that Bible.
I'll be dang. That's crazy.
Different cat. I mean, different cat.
Definitely.
Cool beans.
Yeah, it's fun. I like talking to you guys. It's real natural.
At least somebody does.
We are natural.
Very. Yeah, I had a whole list of stuff to talk about, and
we didn't get to it.
Nah,
Chris always has these bullet points. Then I go off on like chasing rabbits.
That's the best way to do it, though.
I say here, this is what I want to talk about, but I know we're not going to make it through number 2, and we didn't. We talked about associations. I was going to talk to you about the open range stuff. I was going to talk to you about what I got. Just anti-hunting stuff. The groups and the social media stuff. And we talked a little bit about everything, but man, you get off on Ben Lilly, and it's just
what social media stuff were you going to talk about?
Just when, what, and how to post. Opinions on. That's a big ordeal. That's a make you or break you. Social medias make you or break you. You post one wrong video, like, it's kind of like Les Bollinger put up that, and that could start a lot of problems with us saying we'd eat a horse if the wrong person, got hold of it or just turned it around,
Oh, I'd eat a horse. Matter of fact, I had a horse one time. I told my wife, she said, "You're going to kill that horse." I said, "No." I said, "I'm going to cut a piece off of him and I'm going to eat it right in front of him so he sees me eat it." I named that horse Blue Duck.
Blue Duck.
He was nasty. I tell you what, he was nasty.
Blue Duck from like Lonesome Dove.
Lonesome Dove.
He was a nasty horse. And I roped on him. I won a little bit of money on him, and then I sold him.
Yep.
And I warned him exactly what he was like.
Well, like around the house, like obviously, we're in heavy rancher country, and it's about a 50-50. I shouldn't say that. It's not a 50-50 split. It's probably a 70-30 split. 30% that are pro eating horse and 70 are against. But the 70% that are anti-horse eating, most of those people have never ate a horse, or tasted it. Pretty much anybody who's tasted a horse is pro eating horse.
Yeah.
You can eat a steak with a fork. You literally don't even need a knife.
Well, I can guarantee you 95% of those people, if you cut them a steak, fed it to them, and they didn't know what it was, wouldn't say a word about it.
Oh, we did that. Good friend of mine, Colby, he died a few years back, but before that, we had somebody from out of town staying over at our house. We was doing some hog hunting. A guy from Louisiana. And we was going to cook out one night. Well, Colby brought a bunch of horse steaks. And then one of my neighbors come over. So we're all eating. And my neighbor was like, "Damn, that was some damn good steak." I'm like, yeah. And then Colby goes, "How'd that horse taste?" And this guy goes, "What?" And he said, "That wasn't beef. That was a horse."
Yeah. If they don't know, a friend of mine, his wife wouldn't eat elk meat. So I would buy her a little steak, and I went and bought her a little steak, and I took the cellophane off, laid the steak on top of my elk and cut it exactly the same, put it back in there and wrapped it again, put it in the refrigerator. So I made everybody elk. I said, "Hey, go grab your steak out of there, you big puss," and she goes and grabs the steaks, takes it out, and I put it on there. And I let her eat it, and I waited, because if you tell them 5 minutes after they have I waited 2 hours. And I told her, I said, "That's pretty good steak, huh?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Really good, wasn't it?" She goes, "Oh, yeah." "No, you didn't. I took it out." I said, "Go in the fridge in the back and look at that Ziploc bag." And there was that steak that looked like a steak, but she thought She didn't care. And then after, I swear, she goes, that's why my stomach's been hurting. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
God, stop it. But people don't know if they don't know, you know. And then I was telling Brett this the other day. There's the scientifical part of people that won't eat like horse or dog, or it's because you can see the white of their eyes. Monkeys. There's like there's a study that says that because they have eye movement, you can see the whites of their eyes, not like a dumb cow. You know, all the time you see whites of their eyes when you're upside down branding them, they're looking straight up, but because dogs can look at you and I have to look it up, but something with the white of their eyes, the animals that have that is why people feel, I guess, like they're more human than an animal because of the white of their eyes and they can move their eyes. Kind of a crazy theory. But, you know, but how many times did that dog, a stinker, chewed up my stupid regulations in the back of the car today? And I grabbed those regulations, whacked her, and put them in the front seat. And every time I'd look at her, she'd look away and side-eye me, you know? So you're like, you knew you did wrong.
I bet dog doesn't even taste that bad.
Oh,
I've never had
Vietnamese, they eat the hell out of them.
Tastes terrible.
Coyotes taste bad.
Terrible.
Stringy.
Yeah, I could imagine. But I bet you
Go
can.
fat on them.
I've never ate bear. Lion's good.
Ah.
I've ate lion.
God. You know how I got my kids to...
Rattlesnake's good if you can get past the thought of eating a rattlesnake.
Oh, I don't.
You get past you got to get past the thought of rattlesnake, and then you got to get past all them damn bones.
Yeah,
so damn bony.
yeah. It's not. There's nothing.
Yeah,
but no, it tastes good.
Bony fish.
I love rattlesnake.
Yeah, it tastes good.
Yeah,
I used to get my kids to eat when they were little. Like my boys are like 4 or 5. I'd say they're like, oh, I don't like this. I'm like, it's bear meat, and they would eat it because they thought it was bear meat. That's how much they eat bear.
My grandpa's favorite meal was possum and sweet potatoes, and my grandma said that he would constantly, and he was just a super poor old hillbilly, but he had quite a bit of political influence because he was not like me. Like, he was a real big talker, like he was a politician. So if somebody was running for state senate or whatever, they knew if they could get Ed on their side, that he would swing their vote for like these 3 counties. So even though they lived in a terrible dirt floor log cabin, they had a lot of really influential people come over. And my grandma said that his favorite thing to do was to get like one of them senators to come over or something. And then he would have her cook a possum and they would eat. And then after they're done eating, he was like, damn, that was a good possum.
Oh boy. I want to pit a coon. I'll pit a coon. I've seen them foil them coons up and eat them.
Coon is good if it's cooked right.
Yeah.
Just
like javelina. Same thing. Javelina is good if it's cooked right too.
I've never had javelina.
Has a podcast out today about some kind of coon, big old coon cook somewhere.
Who does? Who is it?
Newcomb on the Bear Grease.
Oh, yeah.
Something about some coon cookout or coon. I don't know. I listened to a little bit of it. I couldn't stay interested in it.
On a coon, you got to get the glands out of it. Like, a coon has 5 glands, if I remember right. You got to get all 5 glands out, and then it's kind of a greasy meat. So typically,
like beaver.
Yeah. So typically, you got to clean it right, and then you boil it to kind of get some
grease out of it.
Grease out of it, and then you cook it. But me and that old man I was talking about, Lee, we used to coon hunt. We used to coon hunt too. And in a town about 30 minutes down the road, there's a big population of blacks, which they like coon. So when we would kill coon, we would trade them. So if you brought them 2 coon, you could sell them to them outright, but we would trade them. So we'd give them 2 coons and they'd give us 1 cooked coon for 2
Mm.
raw coons. But when you give them the coon, you skinned it and gutted it, but you had to leave 1 foot on it. So you'd skin it out, but leave 1 foot, because otherwise you could pass off a house cat
Oh,
carcass, as a
Oh.
coon carcass.
Uh,
But they would,
I bet you they could cook it too.
what's that?
I bet you they knew how to cook it too.
They would smoke them, and man, I'm telling you, it was good stuff. Like, we were more than willing to trade 2 for 1 on
Oh yeah.
2 raw coon for a cook coon.
Nice. We don't have a lot of coon here in Arizona. A couple spots. Not like Oklahoma. I got a friend over there. She'll send me pictures of her deer feeder, and there's 30 coons on it.
Oh yeah, we're overrun. I mean, 2 maybe 3 years ago, they just opened the season up year round, and I mean, part of it's that there's less coon hunters than there used to be, and then the deer hunters just like throwing corn out like crazy. But yeah, our coon population's kind of like our deer population. It's getting out of control.
guys, my battery is just about dead.
That thing always lasts so long on that Mac. Crazy.
Yeah, this is my laptop. So,
All right, Brett. You said you was
Guys.
leaving an hour ago.
yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to pop my tent up and go to bed.
Sounds good. Drive
Yeah.
safe, Brett.
Enjoyed it. Guys, we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Okay, bueno, bye.
Oh, should I even save some stuff for you? You make knives. I didn't even get into that.
No.
EdBarnesKnives.com. And you have a magazine. Anybody who's on Monday kind of knows this. That's why I didn't really wasn't getting into dogs too much. I just want to kind of talk some other crap. Tusker's magazine. How's that magazine doing? Pretty good.
Pretty good. I mean, like, we kind of touched on it on Monday. I mean, it's a print magazine, so I mean, it's kind of an uphill battle. It's kind of a dying breed, kind of like dog hunters.
Yeah. I think they just don't want the trouble of it. Like, dog hunters don't want the trouble. It's just too much trouble anymore,
Well, I mean, we hit it on a Monday. Like, it's this like instant gratification culture we're in. We're like, you go back 20, 30 years, if you had a really cool hunt, it's like, oh man, I'm going to write a story about this and send it into such and such magazine.
Yep.
By the time you write the story, send it in, it gets published, you get the magazine, a couple months. Now everybody can just go on social media.
Post it as it's happening. Do a live.
Post.
I did a live. We were chasing a lion out in the middle of nowhere, and I got up on this huge bluff, and I got service. I'm all got on. I said, "Hey, for all you guys that think it's trucked a tree on a lion, dry ground lion hunt, we got war, man, and it wore us out. That was a horror. We lost a dog down there actually
From the heat.
So, never found it.
Oh, just lost it.
Yeah, GPS died. Man, we looked. I went back for a week, and I don't know which way he went. And I kept an eye on Facebook. You always see those, lost dog. Yeah. And it has our number on his collar. And he was a really old dog. So to me, it's kind of, I always call it the hound, the hound death, the hound funeral, where last thing he was on was a lion out there, and went across the Salt River and into the reservation probably. So.
I mean, it's kind of like that dude Brett was talking about the mules from.
Yep.
That guy went out doing what he wanted to do. That dog did the same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like, in hog hunting, we lose a lot of dogs. I mean, and me and the guys that I hunt with, we hunt in a way where we don't lose it near as many dogs as a lot of people do, just because of the style of dog we use. So it's not something that, I mean, we're not cold-hearted to it. I mean, it sucks. I mean, we hate it. But when a dog goes out on a pig, it's kind of like,
Viking funeral.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather go out enjoying myself and doing something that I love rather than laying in the hospital for 2 weeks and then,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
dying. So, I mean, we kind of look at it in that vein. So when a pig kills a dog, yeah, it sucks. But we're like, man, that's, you know, if you got to go, and everybody's got to go, every man, every dog.
Yeah.
We're like, that's a good way to go. But like when a dog gets run over or a dog gets out of its kennel at the house and gets on a road and gets run over, like, ah, man, you know, that's a different
Especially when you
thing.
run over your own dog.
I've done that.
I've done that.
I've done that.
You know, I lost one of my best dogs lion hunting for a cancer kid, and a javelina hunter ran him over and just kept going. I'm like, man, he stopped. I went over there. He's laying in the road. I called the game warden and told him, hey, man, if I go down there, probably not going to be real good. But I have I still know his license plate in my head today. So wouldn't be hard to find him.
The only time it benefited me, I was hunting with this guy and I had this plot dog. I'm trying to think of his name. Drifter. That's what I called him. And he was a mediocre dog. He wasn't a great dog. He was mediocre. Well, these dogs bayed, and we was in a truck hauling ass trying to get to them. And the hog broke and evidently crossed the road right in front of us. Drifter comes flying across the road. My buddy runs him over and kills him. And then here come all the other dogs, and then they go bay this pig. Well, my buddy felt terrible about it. He just kept going on and on. I'm like, man, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, that's, if I was driving, the same thing would have happened. It was just a freak accident. And all night he just kept going on about it, and I couldn't get him calmed down. And he had this red cur bitch. There's a pup. We've been hunting her for a few weeks, and she was like superb. And he was super high on her. Well, we finished hunting. We get back to his house, and I'm transferring my dogs from his box to my box. And then he comes up and he throws this red bitch in my box. And I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm giving you this dog. He said, I feel terrible about running over your dog. And I tried to talk him out of it. He wouldn't have nothing of it. So I took the dog. Way better dog than the dog you ran over.
Hey, you want to hit a couple more?
Yeah. Hey, I got a few more I can bring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just bring all your crap dogs every time you go out. Yeah, it happens. It happens. So, well, I'm going to get you on for a Ben Lilly special.
Yeah, let's do it sometime.
I love Ben Lilly. You know, a lot of people don't talk about him because you're right. There are some, but I'll be honest with you. I've had, like, you get doing what I do right now, getting people on, and you always get somebody that calls or texts you and says, well, I know the real story about him or her. What about this and this? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about
No, I mean, nobody's one dimensional. You know, I mean, everybody's got some bad about him, and Lily's got some bad about him. Obviously, he's a human being, right? You know, I mean, he's not perfect. He's not Jesus Christ. But I mean, in the big picture, he's still, I don't care if it's mythology or not. He's still one of my idols. And
that's what got me. That's my big thing is I've been lilied. You know what I mean? If I slept in a ditch that night, I've been lilied.
Yeah.
I caught a bunch of lions. I've been lilied. If I caught bear, I've been lilied, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I like him because he's famous, but he's not, you know, like Del Lee. What did he do wrong? You know, there was some stories behind him. You hear his telling the stories, but who's the guy he pissed off?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody's got bad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of people who say some bad shit about me. And I imagine about you. I imagine about you. I mean, none of us are perfect.
Yeah. No.
The thing about Ben Lilly is, and not to like, I'm not Del Lee and the Lee brothers are amazing. I'm not dogging them at all, but they're kind of famous for tooting their own horn, and I'm not saying that in a bad way.
Yeah.
Lily didn't really toot his own horn, you know.
He
It was
didn't
other
talk to
people.
nobody.
Yeah, it was other people. And like I say, I'm not down in the Lee brothers at all, because like I hold them in super high regard as well. But Lily wasn't looking for fame.
Nope.
You know, it just kind of, and yeah, there was, you know, people say, oh, there, you know, what's the black dude's name? Colt
Hoyer.
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 Lots of people, you know, you start talking about Ben Lilly and they'll be like, oh, Colt was a way better outdoorsman than he ever was. He might have been, you know, I'm not saying he wasn't, but everything just kind of fell right in line for Lilly. So, you know, the guys who come out on top of history, doesn't always mean that they were the best of their time. It's just kind of how everything kind of hit in the right time at the right place.
Everybody knew him.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is when he could take a piece of bark, write a check, write a check on it, like a check for a bank, and take it. Anybody would take that.
Yeah.
From Ben Lilly. They could take that in, whatever he wrote on, and it'd be as good as a check.
Yeah, and a lot of, and they say that a lot of time, and Lilly was literate, like he could read and write, which, you know, for that time frame. Look, my great grandfather was born 1891, and he couldn't read or write, and not a slag at him at all. But I'm just saying that for Lily's time and his geographical location, him being able to read and write was kind of out of the ordinary. But so lots of times he would write it, when he would write those checks, he wouldn't even sign his name. He would draw a honeybee, or carve a honeybee, or draw a honeybee, and then carve or write a water lily. The B for Benjamin and the lily for Lily. But, and I think a lot of people I don't think know is that, like I was saying earlier, like that Ben had quite a bit of money for the time. That was also during the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl. He lost a lot of money in them banks that failed at that time, because, you know, the great crash in 29, a lot of them
there
banks,
was no federal insurance.
Yeah, there was no federal insurance, and a lot of them banks just went belly up, and Ben had money in a lot of different banks that went belly up, and he just never got back.
Like thousands of dollars.
But he didn't even really care about money.
No.
Like, that's what I was saying. Like, when people give Lily shit because he abandoned his kids, he didn't really. I mean, he physically abandoned his kids, but he didn't. He still knew he had an obligation. Like, and that kind of gets skirted over a lot. That he did. Like I said earlier, he did send a lot of money back to his second wife, not the first wife, but the second wife. He sent money back to her the rest of his life. So he wasn't all bad.
Oh no.
None of us are all bad or all good.
He just didn't want to deal with his kids.
You know, I mean, he was, I probably wasn't even that. I mean, he loved his children. Like, man, he was just
he just couldn't stay still in a house.
Yeah. I mean, even for a dude from what we consider way back, he was a man, you know, like you guys podcast. He was born 100 years too late.
Mm-hmm.
And we're 100 years too late for Lily.
Yeah.
Lily was 100 years too late for
his time.
Yeah. He was I mean, they always say he was the last mountain man. And obviously he was well past the time period for mountain men, but
oh yeah,
he was a man from an earlier era. And he couldn't deal with he couldn't deal with what was modern at his time. Yeah. We would love to be in his modern. Like we would probably thrive in his modern, but for him, he felt the same. That's it. I mean, he felt the same way then as we feel today. Like he was yearning for an earlier time.
Yep.
Just I mean, it's just an interesting character.
Yeah, because he didn't drive or ride horses or nothing.
No, I mean he rode a horse every once in a while, but he was kind of morally opposed to riding a horse, but he did every once in a while.
I think it was more inconvenience to ride a horse because a horse don't go where you can walk. You can walk anywhere.
Well, what Lily said was that, I mean, I think first and foremost, it was a moral. His morals may have been kind of abnormal, but he was an incredibly moral man by his morals. I think that was first and foremost on the not riding an animal. But what he also said was that when you're riding a horse or a mule, you're too far away from the ground to track an animal. And he said he could track an animal better when he was on foot because he could see it better and read the sign better.
Yeah. And he can move. He can move quick.
I mean, the dude walked from Louisiana to New Mexico.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you go to Walmart tomorrow and watch the people make laps around the parking lot trying to get a spot 40 feet closer to the door.
They will. They will too.
And this dude walked from Louisiana to New Mexico.
Didn't blink an eye.
And you're worried about walking an extra 40 feet.
No, it drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. Well, Mr. Barnes, I think we're going to have to save some of this Lily talk for another time.
Yeah, let's call it. I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm tired too. I texted my wife and she didn't answer back, so I think she went to bed.
Yeah, I'm about to head there.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, we'll do it again sometime.
We will. We'll have a Ben Lily festival.
Sounds good.
All righty. I will talk to you another time. Thanks for coming on.
See you.
All right. Well, very interesting guy. A lot of knowledge. Let me, so what do we got going on here? First annual Hound Rendezvous. Young, Arizona, close to it. Reynolds Creek Campground, if you want to look it up. You're going to have camping, steak dinner. Trying to get a live band there. I'm pretty sure she has it booked. It'll be August 24th, which is a Saturday. And if you show up early, you're going to put you to work. So, other than that, next Monday night, we're doing live. We have Cody King coming on talking about the chaga bug. Thanks everybody for coming. Let's see, check my comments. Going late tonight. Yeah, we got talking. Brett got on. Yep. Cody King, chaga bug, Monday night. I got a video coming out here in either tomorrow or probably tomorrow. I'll post it tomorrow. Other than that, you guys, thanks for coming on. Always remember, keep your powder dry and stay safe out there.